TV10.org, brought to you by the Ad Council.
The votes have been cast. The ballots have been counted. Welcome to Talk Radio WRNR and TV10's coverage of Election Night 2018. Tonight, you'll hear from our panel of analysts, Finance Chairman Senator Craig Blair, Delegate Jason Barrett, political analyst John Reisenweber, and attorney Joe Ferretti. Coverage of tonight's broadcast is brought to you by Brown Funeral Homes and Cremations, a full-service funeral home proudly serving our area since 1880. Miller's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, home of the lifetime powertrain warranty, Route 9 east of Martinsburg. Attorney Harley Wagner, West Virginia's only exclusive DUI defense firm. And Valley Guns 2, Exit 5 off I-81 in Inwood. Now, let's go live to the host of Election Night 2018, Rob Mario.
Thank you, Matt Miller, and thank you to all of our listeners and viewers on TV10 tonight. As we pour through the election results, the polls closed a half of an hour ago in West Virginia, and tonight, between now and 11 o'clock, we'll begin to gather those results and then analyze those results, too, with our panel of experts. Again, you just heard the introductions. Delegate Jason Barrett. Good evening, JB.
Good evening, Rob.
Very proud of myself for not saying good morning.
You know, I had to think of it as I was saying that.
Senator Craig Blair. Hello, sir.
Howdy.
And I like, because you had the hat on, too. That works with the howdy. John Reisenweber. Good morning. I did it right there. Good evening, Johnny.
Good to see you. Thank you for having me.
And also, Joey Torts Freddy is with us, too, in the David Welch chair. Joe, good evening.
Yeah, big chair to fill, but I'm glad to be with all these experts here.
And
looking forward to it.
Speaking of filling that chair, it is usually filled by one David Welch, who joins us on the WVU Medicine Berkeley Medical Center talk line from sunny Southern California. D-Dub, good evening to you, sir.
And good morning to all of you.
Sounds like a good morning, doesn't it? Feels like it should be morning.
I'm sitting out on the patio of the San Diego Convention Center, literally watching the sun go down over the Pacific Ocean.
So stop.
I'm I'm in a very relaxed mood, so don't piss me off tonight, okay?
Fair enough.
How about condolences for your Los Angeles Dodgers?
Oh, now
too late.
I had to get that in there, Dave. I'm sorry.
That was Reisenweber if you're scoring along at home. John, you can adjust that mic whatever way is comfortable for you.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, very nice.
I will. Speaking of baseball, right off to my left, because of where I'm sitting, is Petco Field where the Padres play. It's really cool. I mean, it's one of those downtown stadiums if you've ever been here. So it's kind of like all in your face wherever you walk in the downtown area.
Let's talk about Election Night 2018 here and what we're expecting. Conventional wisdom is that the Democrats will retake the House. The Republicans will hold on to the Senate. From a national angle on this, do we have any disagreement on that in the room? Anybody hear anything different today in terms of any rumors or poll numbers?
Well, I'm certainly not going to disagree. I think that the Democrats in the U.S. House could get somewhere near 230. I think the Senate is a much tougher task for them. I think they're playing defense and a lot more than they're playing offense. If they lose one or two, I think that's an opportunity for the president to take some credit for that. But if it holds the same or somehow they're able to pick up one, I think that's provides a lot of momentum for the Democrats moving forward. And I think it's really a big deal. I think it's really I think Trump would probably have to take some blame for that.
I think you
agreed on that, John?
Well, I certainly all the prognosticators do seem to agree. Even Fox News is acquiescing that it sounds like the House is going to go Democrat. We went through this before in 2016 when everyone said Trump wasn't going to win. So we'll wait till the results come out. I think the Republicans actually may gain seats in the United States Senate and lengthen that margin there. I don't think it's going to be significant, but they could. There are definitely a couple of pickups I think for the Republicans that folks would be upset if they didn't get. So you may see a 56. 56 for the Republicans and 44. So you may see actually a 10 seat difference by the time the evening's done in the Senate side.
I don't think they get quite to 56. I do agree with you though that the Republicans will lengthen that majority in the Senate. The map just falls that way to them, and there's a half a dozen seats that are just clear toss-ups. You can't predict them. I think they're going to be that close. The Democrats need in the House, let's see, if you count 6 plus 8, they need 218 for majority, so they need to pick up 20. And you have to keep in mind that historically when you have a president in the White House, his party will lose, if he's under 50% approval, which he is, historically 37 seats. So just by historical standards, the Democrats are poised to win, the 37, probably somewhere in that range. So I just think that the House really is the favorites tonight. If you're handicapping it like a sporting event, the Democrats are the clear favorites in the House, and the Republicans are the clear favorites in the Senate.
We have very, very early results in one precinct. I think, Jason, you said this was from Monongalia County?
That's what I received a text message earlier that said that there was some results coming in from Monongalia County. There's that's a multi-member House race up there, the 51st, that the Democrats are looking to pick up one seat. Right now it's a 3-2 breakdown, Democrat to Republican. Monongalia County and Morgantown is typically a Democratic area. There's also a Senate race up there that, is one that I think the Democrats were really looking that they could possibly lose one. And I know the Republicans with Mike Oliverio, who's a former Democratic state senator, and Bob Beach is an incumbent Democrat now, looking at that race would be one that the Democrats could actually lose. But I think that from what I've heard and saw and seen, that the early numbers show that current Senator Beach is actually ahead right now, but I think it's still pretty early.
The first results I've seen about Senator Manchin and Attorney General Patrick Morrisey had Manchin with 55%, Morrisey with 41%, most likely out of that Monongalia precinct, if that's where the early votes are coming from.
Could be, yeah.
All right, David, what are you expecting out of this U.S. Senate race between Manchin and Morrisey tonight? We had Patrick Morrisey on this morning with us. We had Joe Manchin actually in studio with his Harley gear on his way to Morgantown yesterday, stopped by the studio.
Yeah, I thought that was one of the better campaign events that I've seen in a while. A Harley radio tour. It was pretty cool and pretty bright, I think, on Senator Manchin's part. Rob, all we have to go by, and I think you framed this up pretty well on the morning show today when you were speaking about it, and that is that you have polling information over the past 2 to 3 weeks that all of them have Manchin up anywhere from 6 to 12 points. You have one poll that's out that was released, I think, by the Morrisey campaign, done by a good polling company, though, by the way, that had Morrisey up by 2. So if you take all of the average of polls together, you're looking at a Manchin win here of somewhere around 52 to 48, 53, 47. That's what I'm seeing right now. Unless someone can turn my head on that and tell me something I don't know, I'm thinking that this is probably a re-elect for Manchin tonight.
I would probably. Oh, go ahead, Craig. I'm sorry.
Well, I've just got numbers here. In Berkeley County, what I'm looking at online here says precincts 66 out of 66 have reported, and it's given numbers on the site.
That is shocking.
Yeah, and I had the same thing with Jefferson County too. It's coming up. When I see Jefferson County, it's showing all of the precincts in. For what's going on. I don't see how they can even do that.
No, it takes 20, 30 minutes to get in the
Back Creek Valley.
Right.
Well, this could be a very short show tonight, then.
Well, I think that maybe Gary Wine took your all's criticism to heart after May.
They've upped their game a little bit.
I'd say.
Yeah.
He said on the show today that Rob and I had browbeat him into improving the system. I don't know if we ever did that or not. So
whatever works, right?
So, yeah, those are his words, not ours.
If it works, it works.
I did want to comment on the Manchin race. I think I agree with David's assessment that Manchin's likely to win. I mean, he's a great campaigner. Certainly, the motorcycle tour was a good idea. I think he got some props for that. He was riding around in the rain for sure. If he was riding that motorcycle yesterday, so he probably got a little wet. But I would think probably the closest Morrisey could get is maybe 4 points statewide. We'll see what happens there. But yeah, I definitely suspect that Joe Manchin will gain re-election to the United States Senate.
Early results from Jefferson County that I'm seeing now. The 65th district. With 2,999 votes counted, Sammy Brown with 56%, Jill Upson with 43%. Interesting. And Paul Espinosa right now with 2,275 votes counted in the 66th, with roughly 51%. David Dinges with 49%. And early on with 2,323 votes cast, John Doyle with 61%, Riley Moore with 39%. Now, I don't know what districts those are, but those are some interesting numbers.
Well, and those numbers are pretty high for a House of Delegates race. Even though I know it's a midterm, so that indicates those races, those numbers are pretty high. But it's also a big turnout. But Rob, like you said, you don't know what precincts or districts these are coming in. We expected on our side for at least 2 of those 3 races to be extremely competitive, and we thought maybe they'd even be within 100 votes. We had some polling out 3 to 4 weeks ago that showed that 2 of those races were extremely close and very flippable. But again, you just never know that. And I didn't see any polling in the 66, which is the Espinoza-Dave Dinges race, which is typically a more conservative district. There are a fair number of Democrats there, but more moderate conservative Democrats in a farming district.
Who brought the wind chimes?
The senator, of course. If those numbers hold up, and those big victories for both Sammy Brown and John Doyle, I think that will be an indication that Rockwell has played a big part, and that the teachers' work stoppage has played a big part in these races.
In Jefferson County, it says 32 out of 32 precincts reporting. So again, and it says for Berkeley, 66 out of 66. So if those are accurate numbers, and I don't know if they are or aren't.
Well, I think what we've got here is that the 66 out of 66 and the 32, that's not right. That
at what is it, 811?
Right. They can't get them in that fast.
Maybe that's early voting numbers from all precincts. And that could be something like that.
That's a good possibility. They had those already counted. Maybe.
And then that's a whole lot of votes, I can tell you.
Yeah, you want to hear what we got going on in Berkeley County, though?
Sure.
I'm going to start in the 15th Senatorial District. Charles Trump had 70% of the vote with 3563, and his independent opponent, Jason Armentrout, had 1472 for almost 30%.
What percentage of his of that vote is Morgan County versus Berkeley County?
No,
Craig?
this is just Berkeley County.
No, I mean of the people who vote in the election. What typically is a number shakedown? Jason or Craig, do you know what percentage of the population lives in Morgan versus Berkeley?
Half the population lives in Berkeley County, and the other half, then all of Morgan, all of Hampshire, and half of Mineral.
Okay.
For the 15th Senatorial District. In the 16th Senatorial District, which is half of Berkeley and all of Jefferson, John Unger leads with 52% of the vote with 3,036 votes over Michael Folk at almost 2,800 votes at 48% of the vote. Larry Kump of 855 votes for 57% of the vote versus John Eisner at 647 for 43%. Marshall Wilson was basically unopposed, so he's got 97%. The guy sitting next to me the same way, 97%.
Good job, Jason.
Yeah.
Clean house. Unopposed, you can't get all 100?
I wanted to call that.
Yeah. You stole your thunder, Joe.
Sorry about that, Joe. We got to speak up, man. You know, it's a tough crowd in here.
But, Craig, just to interject real quick, when you look at those numbers, those are not high enough to be total results. I think those are absolutely early voting results.
I agree with you from that standpoint of isn't it interesting, though, to be calling these numbers out? Tom Bibby has got 66% of the vote with 1,285 votes versus his opponent in the 62nd District, Cynthia Tootle, of 672, or 34% of the vote.
Craig, I'm going to pick it up from here if you don't mind.
Sure.
Just to get through the 63rd, that's the three-way race where Brett Rogers is the Libertarian. The question is, would he take votes away from John Hardy? Brett Rogers has drawn 8.7% of the vote. Hardy with 47, Sam Brown with 44, so that's close. Eric Householder right now with a huge margin over Barbie Frankenberry, about 58% to 42%. In the county council races, Bill Stubblefield with 17% of the vote, and Jim Barnhart with 27%. What's going on here is Jim Barnhart is running against Bill Stubblefield. Dr. McGill is running against Elaine Mock. When you look at the county totals, if you go to the county website, it doesn't break the vote apart that way. It lists them as a group of 4 dividing up 100% of the vote. So when you look at it, you have to look at the total votes where they're running. And right now, Elaine Mock has an 1,800 vote lead over Dr. McGill, and Jim Barnhart has a 2,000 vote lead over Bill Stubblefield. David Welch, that's a very interesting race, and those numbers right now overwhelmingly in favor of the incumbents.
Yeah, and I think what you've got there is just a turnout on the Republican side for Barnhart, it appears to me, at least on the votes that are counted so far. And the the idea, and I've said this all along, that Bill Stubblefield's greatest challenge was to do something that nobody's ever done in Berkeley County, to my knowledge, and win one of those seats as an independent. I think it indicates that party allegiance is still very strong.
The race for the Supreme Court, Chris Wilkes is hammering it in Berkeley County. He's got 81% of the vote, 81.5%. Tim Armstead has 403 votes. We know one of those is John Overington's, right?
We can count on that. And Chris Wilkes has to run big up here in the Eastern Panhandle, and he has to hope that those Kanawha County candidates, and there's a bunch of them in his division, are going to carve each other up tonight.
Well, that's the path.
I can speak with some insight. Of course, now I think I'm free to speak. Having had an involvement in the Wilkes campaign, we've known all along that he really had to take in the Eastern Panhandle in all three counties somewhere around the 70% mark to have a chance at winning this statewide. So those are really good numbers for Chris.
In Jefferson County, he was not doing as well, by the way, just 58% in Jefferson County. Joanne Tabbitt did very well in Jefferson County.
And Joanne Tabbitt is viewed as a little more liberal than Chris Wilkes. I think you're going to get a lot of Democratic support out of Jefferson for Joanna Tabbitt. And again, if you look at what you see in those House of Delegates races in Jefferson, with the Democrats performing a lot better than people expect, it doesn't surprise me that Joanna Tabbitt is kind of is performing pretty well there.
David, the early voting, the results for John Doyle versus Riley Moore, that again, those are the early votes, and the latest refresh has Doyle with 61% of the vote, Moore with 39 as we look in Jefferson County. Espinosa about 51 to 49 over Dingus, and Sammy Brown, right now her margin over Jill Upson is about 9%. That's with over 4,000 votes cast now.
Yeah, what it seems like right now, if those numbers hold, that there's a bit of a blue wave perhaps going on in Jefferson County, it appears to me, because you have to look at the Moore Doyle race as being extremely close, and it doesn't look right now, at least in early results, that it's that close, does it?
Well, it depends on where those votes
John,
are coming in.
Real quick, before you go, I just wanted to say the Jefferson County website has now reverted to 0 precincts of 32 reporting, which leads me to believe all of those votes are early voting numbers that were just thrown up. And Gary Wine did tell us this morning, Joe, that the first numbers you'll see were the early voting numbers.
Okay. That explains
go ahead, John.
Well, that district, Riley Moore, John Doyle's district, is it's almost like a tale of two districts, really. You get around the Shepherdstown area, and it's much heavier Democrat, liberal, and then when you get over into the Harpers Ferry and up, particularly up on the mountain, you tend to get more Republicans voting. So, and it just depends on how those votes come in, which precincts get brought in, for counting sooner rather than later. That's one where you kind of have to wait till the end, because you'll get a very different tally. Now, keep in mind, Riley eked out his win last time, so I think he only won by maybe 1 point, 2 points at the most. So it was a very close race when he ran against Lee Snyder's son, or not Lee, excuse me, Herb Snyder's son. So that was a tight race for him to get in. And then when you factor in the teacher strike and Rockwool and the gas line, as Jason mentioned, it's definitely galvanizing support among the Democrats. So you may see Riley get knocked off. Paul clearly is in a fight, and Jill and Sammy, that's a good race as well. So we'll just have to see how that plays out. But certainly those three things, I think, are factoring into the vote totals in Jefferson County without a doubt.
Yeah, the question in my mind is, with these early votes coming in, just whether you can extrapolate from that how that district's going to go, because you have to presume that people who are early voting are voting from all parts of the district, right?
Right.
I doubt one part of the district would be more represented than the other.
I would agree.
To a great
I would
extent.
agree on the early voting piece, which is why I think particularly in that 67th you have to wait until the end, because you do really have two very different parts of that district. So we'll just have to see. But yeah, the early tallies would suggest that maybe Doyle's going to be back in the State House.
Yeah, and when you look, I think, at the two counties.
In 30 seconds, we're going to pick up a national uptake.
And I think it's clear that the Berkeley County numbers right now are early only. You look at those vote totals compared to Jefferson, I think there may be some more precincts reporting than just early voting numbers.
David, you going to hang out during the break?
I will do it.
All right, hang on. David's on the WVU Medicine Berkeley Medical Center talk line. We'll take the first of our national updates now from CBS. It's coming up on our 8:20 break here.
CBS News Special Report, Campaign 2018.
Democrats have notched their first significant win of the night, with CBS News projecting Jennifer Wexton will unseat Republican Virginia Congresswoman Barbara Comstock. Still, toss-ups most elsewhere, including in competitive races in Florida, where polls have recently closed. Correspondent Peter King joins us live from Orlando. Peter.
Well, Steve, CBS News has characterized both the governor's and Senate races here as toss-ups, and with 90% of the vote in, it's playing out that way. Republican Ron DeSantis leads Democrat Andrew Gillum by half a point. The governor's race, Democratic incumbent Bill Nelson trails Republican challenger Rick Scott by 0.1% for the Senate. And if you're thinking recount, how could you not here in Florida? The rules say 0.5% difference will automatically trigger one. Steve?
Also in Florida, Democrat Donna Shalala unseats the Republican in the state's 27th congressional district. Another race to watch in Georgia.
I'm Jim Crisul in Atlanta. Georgia Republican gubernatorial candidate Brian Kemp, who is also in charge of the state's election, had voting problems himself. The Georgia governor's race is one of the most closely watched in the country, in part because of an ongoing dispute over Kemp's management of the election system. Kemp had an issue with his voter card when he went to cast his ballot.
Meanwhile, Democratic senators projected to win re-election in Ohio, Connecticut, Delaware, Maryland, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, and Rhode Island. CBS News Special Report, I'm Steve Dorsey.
And I'm Bill. Shop Miller's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram today and find over 150 new and used vehicles to choose from gas savers to SUVs to four-wheel drive trucks. All of the new and most of the pre-owned vehicles come standard with a lifetime powertrain warranty. Now you can drive away with peace of mind knowing your vehicles are covered for life. And the best part about it, there are no service requirements with Miller's, and it's all included to you at no extra cost. That's right, no extra charge, and you're not required to service with us. Just follow the manufacturer's recommendations, and you're covered for life. With great quality vehicles and a great price, you can't miss with Miller's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Our courteous, experienced, and professional staff is waiting to assist you with finding the perfect vehicle that fits all of your needs. Unbeatable deals and excellent financing is right down the road. Stop in today. Miller's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Route 9 and Kelly Island Road just east of Martinsburg, or online at MillerChryslerJeep.com. Miller's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, home of the lifetime powertrain warranty.
If you're a victim in a motor vehicle wreck or injured due to another person's fault, at Ferretti Law Office, we get to work protecting your rights and getting you the money you need and deserve. The insurance companies handling your claims want a fast and cheap settlement. Before making that mistake, call Ferretti Law Office at 264-8505 to discuss your claim for free. You did not choose to be injured, but your choice of law firms can make a difference. At Ferretti Law Office, we're here to help.
Hi, honey.
Where are you?
I've been in line at the post office for the last 30 minutes.
Why are you at the post office? It'll take you all day.
Where else do I go to ship my packages or drop FedEx off at?
Honey, going postal is way faster, has less lines, and friendly service.
Where's going postal?
It's right in the Common Shopping Center in Martinsburg. They'll ship your packages quickly, and you can avoid the lines.
Going postal should be your first choice for all your shipping needs. Going postal, the Commons, Martinsburg.
You're really busy. Got it. The last thing you want to think about today is a funeral home. Got it. But a little forward thinking now can save you a lot of heartache later. It's easier than you think. We're Brown Funeral Homes, family owned, in business for over 135 years, since 1880. And we're home based, right here in the Eastern Panhandle. Think smart. Think ahead. Brown Funeral Homes, Martinsburg, Inwood, and Charlestown, Ranson. Brown Funeral Homes. We're here for you.
Come to Valley Guns 2 in Inwood for Smith & Wesson handguns like the MP 2.0 9mm full-size semi-automatic and the MP 2.0 compact. Or check out the Model 60 Pro Series Smith & Wesson revolver. For the ladies, there's the Smith & Wesson 380 Shield Easy. It's easy to load, easy to shoot, and easy to carry. See the full line of Smith & Wesson handguns at Valley Guns 2, Exit 5 off I-81 Inwood, West Virginia. Online at valleyguns2.com.
It's 8:24. We'll be back with more of our election night coverage in 30 seconds.
A DUI arrest can have a devastating impact on one's life, your job, your driver's license, and in some cases, your very freedom. My name is Harley Wagner. I own and operate West Virginia's only exclusive DUI defense firm. Since 1999, I've been representing citizens throughout the Eastern Panhandle and state of West Virginia charged with DUI. Let my years of training and experience work for you.
The initial consultation is free at the Wagner Law Firm in Martinsburg. Phone 304-901-7400 or online at westvirginiaduilawyers.com.
Welcome back to our coverage of Election Night 2018. Early vote totals so far in Jefferson County have favored Democrats. And in Berkeley County, some very interesting numbers there, too, which include the fact that the Attorney General, Patrick Morrisey, who I would say did not pay a lot of attention to the Eastern Panhandle during his campaign, has not done as well in the Eastern Panhandle early voting totals I've seen. John Reisenweber and David Welch. And we're also joined by Joe Freddy, Jason Barrett, and Craig Blair, as you would have thought he would have done out of his home base, gentlemen.
Yeah, you would think that he would run better here in the Eastern Panhandle, and that may have been part of his strategy. As he was, I don't want to say taking it for granted, but making an assumption when you have to marshal limited resources. You know, where do you put that? Where do you put that effort? And you may want to put it in an area where he's not as well known. Certainly, being the Attorney General, his name's in the paper very often down in the Charleston area. So, you know, it could have been one of those things where he was focusing in other parts of the state where maybe he's not in the newspaper as often or as highly visible as he is in Charleston.
Well, he was doing a good bit up here. He had Donald Jr. up here at Heritage Hall.
He did, yeah.
And he did a lot of groundwork here in the Eastern Panhandle as well. I've seen him. I got the emails all the time and the text saying, "Hey, Craig, come to this. Craig, come
it's
to
a
that."
tough state to run statewide. I mean,
bet.
it's 7 hours to get from here to Mason County and Huntington on the Ohio River. I mean, it takes a lot to run the state statewide. So it's definitely not easy. So I'm sure he was stretched then.
Well, I think the other part of that too is that it is a tough state to campaign in, and John, as you well know, and being so involved in Shelley's earlier campaigns in just the 2nd District, that we live in the Washington media market, and that's an extremely, almost out of bounds area to advertise in on broadcast television, unlike the rest of the state where you can rely a lot on broadcast TV. You've got to get out and campaign differently in our area because it's really more of a suburban kind of area with an expensive media market.
Yeah, that's
right.
right.
I think the other thing, if on the other side of Morrisey not being so present in the Eastern Panhandle, was the enormous presence of Joe Manchin. And I got the impression here in the last 4 weeks that they must have sensed an opportunity for him to grow his vote in the Eastern Panhandle because Senator Joe Manchin was in the Eastern Panhandle a lot during the month of October.
He was.
Well, he was. And I'm sure, the vote totals that you've seen with him over the years, he hasn't always run as well here. So it could have been, a theory or a strategy to maybe blunt some of the support the perceived support anyway, that Morrisey would naturally have in the Eastern Panhandle. So, that could very well be the case, Dave. You're probably right on that.
Well,
he also had to worry about his left flank in the Eastern Panhandle too. Not that it's not anything close to being a majority, but there was a fairly active left group of voters who were pretty upset with him over the Kavanaugh thing and swore that they would never vote for him, whether it meant that he would win or lose. So he had to be mindful of that. But he really did take. I got the sense that he really did take the Eastern Panhandle far more seriously than Pat did.
Hey, the vote totals out of Jefferson County right now, we have 2 local politicians who call Jefferson County their home base, Alex Mooney and also Patrick Morrisey. Morrisey in Jefferson County down 10 points in early voting to Joe Manchin. Out of 9,900 votes cast, Manchin has 53%, Morrisey 43%. Tally Sargent, out of almost 10,000 votes cast, has a 48 to 47% lead over Alex Mooney. So Mooney and Morrisey, both Jefferson County residents in early voting, losing in their home counties.
Well,
Greg, you're shaking your head like you're seeing something different.
Yeah, I'm seeing something different.
In Jefferson County?
On Jefferson County, 49% Alex Mooney, 46.25 for Tally Sargent.
All right, I'll do a refresh and an update and see if anything new is on there. Go right ahead.
That's still a much larger margin than what you're seeing between Morrisey and Manchin, though. Back to your point, Rob, about both of them being from Jefferson County, it does seem that Alex has performed much better in Jefferson than has Patrick. At least the early numbers would suggest that.
Well, but the problem is when you run in that second congressional district as a Republican from the Eastern Panhandle, you absolutely have to run the numbers up in the Eastern Panhandle. You can't win this by 3 points and expect to be extremely competitive in Kanawha or even win Kanawha for Alex Mooney. So, again, I think these numbers are really early, but the Mooney campaign has to, for them to be successful, and I think that they still are even with these numbers, but they have to run the numbers up in the Eastern Panhandle.
That's a good point. The precincts now in Berkeley County reviewing 10 out of 66. 10 out of 66 counted in the latest refresh. And we're going to run through some of these numbers coming up. We're going to take another update from CBS's election night coverage crew, which will be coming your way each hour at 20 past, 31 past, and 50 past as well. Also, if you'd like to share your election day experiences, you can reach us at 263-6540. That's 304-263-6540 as our coverage continues. Brought to you this evening by the Brown Funeral Homes and Cremations, Miller Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram by Harley Wagner, West Virginia's only exclusive DUI defense firm, and Valley Guns 2, exit 5 off of I-81 in Inwood. More to come.
CBS News Special Report, Campaign 2018.
Democrats who need 23 seats to win the House have turned 2 Republican seats blue. CBS News projects Democrat Jennifer Wexton over Republican incumbent Barbara Comstock in Northern Virginia, and Democrat Donna Shalala, the winner in the Florida seat held by the retiring Republican Ileana Ross-Lehtinen. House Democratic Leader Nancy Pelosi spoke to the PBS NewsHour.
It is resonating across the country. Now, we're not a national campaign. We're one district at a time. And one district at a time, we will win the Congress tonight.
President Trump urged people to vote as if he were on the ballot, and that worked for this Ohio voter.
I ended up voting for a lot of Republicans because I think they've got the best plan, and the economy's going extremely well now, and it's due, I think, to Republican leadership.
CBS News characterizes the Florida governor and Senate races as toss-ups. CBS News Special Report, I'm Pam Coulter.
And I'm Bill Rakoff as you listen to live coverage of Campaign 2018.
Shop Miller's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram today and find over 150 new and used vehicles to choose from. From gas savers to SUVs to four-wheel drive trucks, all of the new and most of the pre-owned vehicles come standard with a lifetime powertrain warranty. Now you can drive away with peace of mind knowing your vehicles are covered for life. And the best part about it, there are no service requirements with Miller's, and it's all included to you at no extra cost. That's right, no extra charge, and you're not required to service with us. Just follow the manufacturer's recommendations, and you're covered for life. With great quality vehicles and a great price, you can't miss with Miller's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Our courteous, experienced, and professional staff is waiting to assist you with finding the perfect vehicle that fits all of your needs. Unbeatable deals and excellent financing is right down the road. Stop in today. Miller's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, Route 9 and Kelly Island Road, just east of Martinsburg, or online at MillerChryslerJeep.com. Miller's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, home of the lifetime powertrain warranty.
You're doing okay today, but let's take a little trip 5 years into the future. You're faced with funeral expenses for your loved one. You've got paperwork and logistics and scheduling, a lot of hassle. But a little forward thinking now can save you a lot of heartache later. It's easier than you think. We're Brown Funeral Homes, family owned, in business for over 135 years. Think smart, think ahead. Brown Funeral Homes, Martinsburg, Inwood, and Charlestown, Ranson.
A DUI arrest can have a devastating impact on one's life, your job, your driver's license, and in some cases your very freedom. My name is Harley Wagner. I own and operate West Virginia's only exclusive DUI defense firm. Since 1999, I've been representing citizens throughout the Eastern Panhandle and state of West Virginia charged with DUI. Let my years of training and experience work for you.
The initial consultation is free at the Wagner Law Firm in Martinsburg. Phone 304-901-7400 or online at westvirginiaduilawyers.com.
Come to Valley Guns 2 in Inwood for Smith & Wesson handguns like the MP 2.0 9mm full-size semi-automatic and the MP 2.0 compact. Or check out the Model 60 Pro Series Smith & Wesson revolver. For the ladies, there's the Smith & Wesson 380 Shield Easy. It's easy to load, easy to shoot, and easy to carry. See the full line of Smith & Wesson handguns at Valley Guns 2, Exit 5 off I-81 Inwood, West Virginia. Online at valleyguns2.com.
Welcome back to our election night coverage. Rob here along with Jason Barrett, Craig Blair, John Reisenweber, Joe Ferretti, David Welch via telephone, our producer Sherry Dieter Davis, Mike Hornby setting up the TV broadcasts on TV10, Matt Miller and Matt Crawford as well assisting after their sports show, talk show was over. By the way, if you haven't heard that, you got to listen to Miller Time with Matt Miller and Matt Crawford, 5 o'clock to 7 they went tonight. It's the best sports talk show around, and that includes a lot of the major market ones. I've heard those guys are excellent.
Yeah, they do a good job. They really do.
David Welch via telephone from California. D-Dub.
Hey, bud.
All right, so we heard during the CBS News break 2 seats in the House have turned blue. Those are the projections early on. It's part of what the Democrats need to do in order to turn the House blue. I think a lot of people think that the Senate will stay red. Obviously, I read a report this morning, a study of the stock market, and the best gains, 12% year-over-year returns, are when Republicans control the White House and the Senate and Democrats control the House, when it's split like that.
Because there's stability and predictability and nothing's going to get done?
Gridlock, exactly. The market likes gridlock because it knows no one can mess with the current structure of what's going on financially, other than the Fed chairman, of course, who has a lot of sway.
You know, Rob, I wanted to, during the break, I was thinking about something. It had to do with that seat over in Loudoun County, which was a multi-million-dollar race, flipping from Republican to Democrat. And I wonder if some of that doesn't spill over into Jefferson County a little bit. Jefferson County, in its much of its area, has a lot of crossover with Loudoun County. People work over in Loudoun County. They talk to their coworkers there in the area about what's going on in politics. And I wonder if there's just a little kind of cultural spillover going on from the Loudoun County area, which tends to has been trending a little bit more blue lately, over into Jefferson County, where the people, many of them live in neighborhoods and live lives at an economic level much more like they do in Loudoun County than they do with other parts of West Virginia. It's just a thought. I throw that out to the group to see if that has any credence to it.
I really think this cycle in Jefferson is Jason touched on it first, and I agree with him, and I'll go back to it again. I think you've got the teacher strike definitely cut hard over there, but I this Rockwell situation, I know that project better than anyone, so I've been following it. There's also the natural gas line. I mean, Jefferson County's been trying to get natural gas into the county since the Development Authority was started back in the late 70s. So I think there's a lot of politics there going on. Both of those two projects are kind of tied together, and I think that's driving Democrat turnout. I think it's more that. I think it's actually more the local issues in Jefferson County than it is so much maybe a spillover or cultural similarity to what's happening in Loudoun.
But I'll tell you, there's a little bit of symbiosis there between Loudoun County and Jefferson County.
Hold on a second, Joe. I need to look that word up. Can you go? You go ahead, but I'll get back to you.
Okay. Well, there's a little bit more, I guess, unanimity of opinion in terms of because you can go to Loudoun County right now and drive around. You'll see signs with the big X through Rockwool.
Sure.
And so there's a lot of people over there active and thinking about what's going on in Jefferson County. And Dave, to your point, I think you're right. A lot of these people work with Loudoun County people. It's the water cooler discussions that take place, and maybe that is bleeding over into some of the votes we're going to see tonight.
Wasn't there a group called Loudoun 300? Okay.
There's more of an anti-Trump thing over there as well. So.
Well, they didn't get upset about the natural gas-fired cogen plant that they just put over there in Loudoun County. You didn't see all that, so I don't know. I think it's more. I think it's more what we're seeing on the ground in Jefferson. Frankly, I'm not dismissive of what you're saying, Dave. It certainly could be a component, but I think what's more driving it is what's happening right in their own backyard.
Let's take a look at the House of Representatives races now. This is the latest update with 107 of 573 precincts reporting in the 1st Congressional District. David McKinley with an 18-point lead over Kendra Fershey. In the 2nd Congressional District, less than 10% of the precincts reported. Right now, Alex Mooney with a 13% lead over Tally Sargent. And in the 3rd Congressional District, with 7% of the vote tabulated, Carol Miller with a 22% lead over Richard Ojeda III. This is the latest numbers I've seen. Joe, you're looking at me askance.
I'm seeing a 3-point spread there.
How many precincts reported are you looking at?
Actually, they're telling me counties reported.
Right.
Well, it depends on, again, where that reporting's happening.
I mean, I'm seeing 1 out of 18 that's 52 to 47 favor.
How many votes cast?
22,000.
Right.
Total?
Do you know what county that is?
I'm at on a statewide website. I'm looking at 28,000 votes cast in the 3rd Congressional District, and Carol Miller with a 22% lead.
Well, then the argument would be that that's probably coming from the Huntington area. I mean, that's a wide swath, the whole bottom of the state. Ojeda's going to run stronger in coal country, a little more to the eastern part of that district, and Carol's going to run stronger in the western part of that district in Huntington over near Marshall University. So depending on where those votes are coming in, that could be indicative of, if the swing is that high, it could be that Carol's home turf is showing up in those votes early.
Yeah, and I think that race has attracted the attention of both major parties, a lot of outside organizations. And I kind of think that's a district, if there's going to be a Trump bump anywhere, it might be in that district. Donald Trump's visits to West Virginia may have helped Carol Miller at the end of the day more than he helped Morrissey.
I would agree with that, David. I think you're right. I agree with that.
Absolutely. That's Trump country.
Fellas, I'm watching the Supreme Court race, of course, with what I do for a living. And right now with 2 out of 55 counties reporting, Joanna Tabbitt statewide, 24%, Chris Wilkes, 22%, Tim Armistead, 20%. Looks like it's going to be a 3-person race there. On the Division 2 side, again with 2 out of 55 counties reporting, Evan Jenkins with a 32% of the vote total so far. Second place is Denise Smith with 18%.
Yeah, I think Evan got a good draw in those two. You got Tim and Judge Wilkes going up against each other, and then Miss Tabbitt as well. But I think Evan's definitely going to win that other slot, and we'll just have to see how the votes hit.
Yeah, John, I don't know how closely you all have followed the money in this race, but the money put in against Armstead and for Armstead and for Tabbitt and against Armstead has just been amazing. We're into 7 figures here of outside groups coming in and really making this, on both sides of Armstead, but he has lit the fire on both sides and has attracted major league dollars. We don't see it so much in the Eastern Panhandle, but you go anywhere else in the state, and it's really showing up as a major league race here in the last 2 weeks of the campaign.
Well, I just hope that helps our good judge here, Chris Wilkes, and maybe that vote will split a little bit, and they can fight it out, and maybe Chris will come out on top. That's my hope.
What the Wilkes campaign did is they were underfunded throughout the campaign. There wasn't enough money of their own or outside groups to compete statewide. So they put the stake in the Eastern Panhandle and said, this is ours. And they need a high vote count in the Eastern Panhandle. And then they chose the Morgantown area, those 5 counties surrounding Morgantown, and campaign there. So if Wilkes has a chance, he's got to win that Morgantown area.
Here are some numbers. Let's take a look in Berkeley County. John Unger and Mike Folk. And this is the latest on the Berkeley County Elections website. Unger with a 101 vote lead over Mike Folk with about 10,000 votes counted to this point. Larry Kump up right now in his race against John Eisner, over 2,200 votes cast. Kump has basically a 60-40 lead there. Also moving our way down the list, Cynthia Tootle and Tom Bibby with over just about 2,300 votes cast and counted. Bibby with a 30% lead there, 65-35. The 63rd, we'll be watching that all night. John Hardy, Sam Brown, Brett Rogers. John Hardy right now with 48% of the vote. Sam Brown, 44%. Brett Rogers has the other 8. The question that some posed would be, would Brett Rogers get over 10% in that race? And if he did, would it take out John Hardy? Interestingly enough, in the county 64th district seat, delegate district seat, Barbie Frankenberry, Eric Householder. Eric Householder is enjoying a 15% lead right now, 15-point spread on that race there. County council races. Elaine Mock is matched up in her race with Dr. Zakeem McGill, and Elaine Mock right now with a 2,700 vote lead in that one. Jim Barnhart and Bill Stubblefield. Bill running as an independent right now, down 2,800 votes to James Barnhart.
Rob, do we have any indication on the Jefferson County council races?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Backing up on Berkeley County for just a second, that's 32 out of 66 precincts.
Yes.
And that's important for people to know.
And typically in Berkeley County, the precincts that come in early are the ones in the 61st district that I represent, the ones that are in downtown Martinsburg, and then others that are in close proximity to the courthouse. So you would expect that kind of the 61st to 63rd, some of those numbers to come in earlier, and then you get west of 81 where they're obviously a little further away, so it takes longer to come in.
Jefferson County races right now. This is with 16,000, roughly 500 votes counted. Jane Tabb with a narrow lead in her race with Robert. Is it Barrett? Is that how it's pronounced?
Barrett.
Is it Barrett?
Yeah.
Okay. Barrett, 51% to about 49% there. Ralph Lorenzetti has a 13% lead over Peter Onosco.
Well, there's your Rockwell.
Yeah,
Rockwell role
exactly
there as well. I
mean,
that indicates what's going on. That really is a bell. Peter Osnosco's race, I think, is a bellwether for Jefferson County. It gives you a good idea.
Why is that, John?
Well, because he was squarely in support of the project, and he took a lot of heat over it, as did I, being the development director during that recruitment, and I think unfairly as well. Just like I was accused of taking bribes, and as were others on the development authority, and the vitriol's gotten very, very bad. There's a lot of misinformation about that project, a lot of hysteria as well, environmental hysteria, and so I think Peter's race really kind of gives you an idea. The difference between that and the other council race over there between Jane and Barrett, Jane was originally in support of the project. In fact, she visited the site with me down in Byhalia when we went to look at the site they have in Mississippi, and once when the flack arose over the project, she sort of flipped and decided she was going to be against it. So you've got two anti-Rockwell candidates in that race, and oddly enough, they're 2 points apart. Whereas when you got one for and one against in that other council race, you have quite a much larger disparity between Ralph and Osnosco. And then I think when you go and look at the Dingus-Espinosa race, I think you get another interesting, Paul's always run very well in that district. As Jason pointed out earlier, it's typically a more Republican district. And I know Dave Dingus. He's my son's baseball coach. He's a good guy. I don't agree with his politics that often. He and I had some good, after ball game talks about politics. He's anti-Rockwell. He's a unabashed union member, but Dave's a good guy. And I give him a lot of props for the work he's done with the kids. And there you see the numbers earlier were 51-49. Typically Paul does very, very well in that district, and he's got a fight on his hands, and I think that is again indicative of the role that Rockwell and the gas line and some of the environmental hysteria that's going on over there.
Just to let you guys know that all 32 precincts in Jefferson County have reported, but none are completely reported. These are all partial reporting numbers from those precincts, which means a lot of the early vote totals make up what you're hearing right now. And in the latest refresh that we had on that, the Republicans are closing the gap in the races they were trailing in, and Espinosa is widening his lead in his race with Dingus as we're starting to get vote totals other than early vote totals.
Okay, well, and can you go back to those, Rob, to
which ones?
To the 65th into the 67th, the Jill Upson, Sammy Brown race,
sure.
As well as the John Doyle, Riley Moore. Because I think that those numbers there's such a high turnout.
In the House of Delegates, district number 65, Sammy Brown right now with 6,674 votes counted has a 5% lead, a 4-point lead over Jill Upson. In the 66th, with 5,100 votes counted, Paul Espinosa with a 15-point lead over David Dingus. And in the 67th, now with almost 7,000 votes counted, John Doyle's lead over Riley Moore has shrunk to 11, almost 12%.
Well, and when you look at the 65th and the 67th, they are those total vote numbers are extremely high. Just as I said about my district in Berkeley County, if you look at the Jill Upson, Sammy Brown race, which is Ranson and Charlestown, they're both close to the courthouse there. That's extremely high vote total. I don't know how many more votes you're going to get out of that district, and if that is going to be able, I don't know that Jill's going to be able to bounce back from that lead. There's over 7,000 votes in the 67th, which is the John Doyle Riley Moore race, with an 11-point lead. I just don't see how you overcome an 11-point lead with 7,000 votes. I mean, that's in a midterm election. That vote total's through the roof.
And keep in mind, in the Senate state Senate race where Mike Folk is running neck and neck with John Unger in Berkeley County and Jefferson County. Unger has an 10-point lead there, which amounts to about 2,000 votes.
Yeah, I want to give kudos to Berkeley County. The Berkeley County website is the better one out of everything that we're looking at here right now. That you can see the precincts that's coming in. The information from them is a lot better than anything else that I'm seeing out there.
David Welch?
I was just going to ask, is the Unger 10-point lead, is that a Jefferson County part of the 16th
Yes,
district,
that is just the Jefferson County. In Berkeley County, those numbers are much closer. I tell you what, hang on, because in 10 seconds, we're going to join our next CBS update on the national election updates that are coming our way about every 20 minutes tonight.
CBS News Special Report, Campaign 2018.
New exit polling points to a stronger turnout for Democrats, with first-time voters making up 16% of midterm votes. About half of those are under 30. Georgetown University student Ahmed Ibrahim cast his ballot today.
I think there's so many of us, and that if we actually all came together and voted, the political dynamic in the country would shift, in my opinion.
Many Democrats hanging on to their Senate seats. Let's go live to correspondent Tom Foti in Washington.
And Steve, most of the Senate races that appear decided have been in the East, mostly incumbent Democrats defending their seats. Among those who have, potential 2020 presidential hopeful Elizabeth Warren, Massachusetts, Vermont's Bernie Sanders, and Virginia's Tim Kaine. Also, Chris Murphy in Connecticut, Ben Cardin in Maryland, Tom Carper in Delaware, and Sheldon Whitehouse of Rhode Island. Among the closely watched races that are too close or too early to call, that's Florida, between the incumbent Bill Nelson and outgoing Republican Governor Rick Scott. Steve?
Democrats notching some wins in the House, like Virginia Democrat Jennifer Wexton.
You made it happen when you gave your time and your treasure and your passion to this campaign.
But Republicans still optimistic. Here's voter Grant Stitzlin in Dublin, Ohio.
The reason why I'm out here voting today is because I'm doing like what Trump says. We're trying to make America great again.
Meanwhile, ballot counting troubles being reported in several states. CBS News Special Report, I'm Steve Dorsey.
Shop Miller's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram today and find over 150 new and used vehicles to choose from gas savers to SUVs to four-wheel drive trucks. All of the new and most of the pre-owned vehicles come standard with a lifetime powertrain warranty. Now you can drive away with peace of mind knowing your vehicles are covered for life. And the best part about it, there are no service requirements with Miller's, and it's all included to you at no extra cost. That's right, no extra charge, and you're not required to service with us. Just follow the manufacturer's recommendations, and you're covered for life. With great quality vehicles and a great price, you can't miss with Miller's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Our courteous, experienced, and professional staff is waiting to assist you with finding the perfect vehicle that fits all of your needs. Unbeatable deals and excellent financing is right down the road. Stop in today. Miller's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, Route 9 and Kelly Island Road, just east of Martinsburg, or online at MillerChryslerJeep.com. Miller's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, home of the lifetime powertrain warranty.
You're really busy. Got it. The last thing you want to think about today is a funeral home. Got it. But a little forward thinking now can save you a lot of heartache later. It's easier than you think. We're Brown Funeral Homes, family owned, in business for over 135 years, since 1880. And we're home based, right here in the Eastern Panhandle. Think smart. Think ahead. Brown Funeral Homes, Martinsburg, Inwood, and Charlestown, Ranson. Brown Funeral Homes, we're here for you.
A DUI arrest can have a devastating impact on one's life, your job, your driver's license, and in some cases your very freedom. My name is Harley Wagner. I own and operate West Virginia's only exclusive DUI defense firm. Since 1999, I've been representing citizens throughout the Eastern Panhandle and state of West Virginia charged with DUI. Let my years of training and experience work for you.
The initial consultation is free at the Wagner Law Firm in Martinsburg. Phone 304-901-7400 or online at westvirginiaduilawyers.com.
Crime is on the rise. Shield yourself with a new Smith & Wesson MP 2.0 shield, chambered in 9mm, 40 Smith & Wesson or 45 ACP. Valley Guns 2 has a wide selection of Smith & Wesson handguns, including the Model 60 and 640 Pro Series revolvers. For the ladies, there's the Smith & Wesson 380 Shield Easy. It's easy to load, easy to shoot, and easy to carry. For the full line of Smith & Wesson handguns, head to Valley Guns 2, Exit 5 off I-81, Inwood, West Virginia, online at valleyguns2.com.
First hour nearly in the books here, and Rob Mario along with David Welch via the W Medicine Berkeley Medical Center talk line from sunny Southern California, and also in studio Joey Ferretti, John Reisenweber, Senator Craig Blair, Delegate Jason Barrett, all with us here on election night 2018, where Jefferson County showing some surprising numbers tonight, David.
Yeah, the two there that look like they could flip, if I'm getting this correctly, Sammy Brown ahead of Jill Upson. I do agree with Jason Barrett that if Sammy's up 5% with that much of the vote in, that's a pretty tall mountain to climb, although it depends on where those votes are coming from, but that's a possible flip. And it looks like in the 67th, that could be a possible flip to the Democrats as well. Both John Doyle and Sammy Brown ran in part, and yes, they had the Rockwool situation going there, the teacher situation, but they both ran on a platform of sort of this economic populism, free college for the first 2 years, and saying, yes, our economy might be doing well, but it's not doing well for everybody, and we need to lift up everybody. That was central to the message in both of those campaigns, and at least at this point in time, it sounds to me like at least part of that might have worked.
I'm also wondering, we talked about this a little bit on the break, David, the unceremonious manner in which the NAACP called out Jill Upson for a PAC that she was involved in that ran an ad, somewhere else in the country far, far away, and basically took her to task and blamed her for what was some, inflammatory racist rhetoric. And I thought it was unfair to Jill. I think Jill's done a very, very good job. You've got two African-American women running for the same seat, and the NAACP clearly decided to weigh in on that race and put their weight behind Sammy. And I'm wondering what, I don't know what kind of effect it had, but they ran against each other last time and Jill won, and this time it does.
And she won by a lot.
Yeah, and this time it looks like those tides are turned, and I'm wondering what effect that last-minute October surprise, if you will, played in the results that we're seeing so far.
I think those races there are more about turnout than they are those specific instances with those ads and that type of thing. Keep in mind there was a lot of outside money spent in that race to help Sammy Brown as well. I don't think it's any secret the amount of work that she has put in, that she's posted on social media with knocking on 3,000 doors on her own. That kind of work and effort in a single-member House district goes a really long way.
Oh yeah, she's worked it. There's no doubt.
So I think that's
dismissive of that.
No, I wasn't suggesting that you were, but I think that plays a huge role.
Absolutely. I knocked on 3,000 doors back in 2000 when I ran, and I got 3,011 votes. It definitely makes a big difference when you knock on people's door and introduce yourself. And Sam, the other thing about Sammy, she's really does.
John, you're saying you should have knocked on 6,000 doors.
Yeah, that's right. I should have knocked on a few more. I lost by about 500 votes. But Sammy's got a very infectious personality. I mean, you can't help but like her. She's easy to talk to. She's friendly. She's outgoing, and she presents very, very well. So if you get a few minutes with her at the front door when you're working in the yard on a Saturday and she stops by, the likelihood is you'll walk away with a pretty positive impression of her. So, that type of using the shoe leather definitely works. And for somebody with her personality, I'm sure it has an impact.
I was going to make somewhat the same point too, and just extend that, John, in that she not only has that effervescent personality, but she used social media effectively to get that personality out. I don't know if you're a Facebook friend of hers or not, but she was, several times during the campaign, dozens of times, she would do videos of herself talking on Facebook, and that really got a lot of attention.
Well, it's definitely a new way to, a new way to campaign, and you can reach a lot of people via social media, and it's just going to become more and more prevalent in campaigns, both at the local and national level.
According to the Secretary of State's website, Joanna Tabbitt, with 2 of 55 counties reporting 174,000 votes counted, is leading in her division. That's one of these state Supreme Court race with 23.5% of the vote. Tim Armstead, 22% of the vote. Chris Wilkes has 19% of the vote. In Division 2, Evan Jenkins, right now a runaway at 33 1/3% of the vote. Renee Smith, a distant second, just under 17% of the vote. And I'm looking, Jeff Kessler is third at 11% of the vote. Jenkins and Kessler, you would think Jenkins obviously would do very well. Name recognition there is huge. And Kessler also with a lot of name recognition, picking up 11% of the vote. I did not expect Smith to be getting 17%, Jason.
Well, and, I kind of I thought she would perform well, not this well. And again, I think when we look at some of these results, you always assume that Southern West Virginia comes in the latest. Bill Thompson is from Southern West Virginia, Boone, I believe. So I'd expect him to do well there.
He had good interviews, I thought, on our show.
Yeah, he does. And I got to talk to him for a little bit while he was here in Berkeley County. Jeff Kessler is well known, but from the Northern Panhandle, I think there were just too many folks like Kessler and Thompson and Smith drawing from the same group of voters, and that's what really has allowed Jenkins to, I think, probably kind of walk away with this. But he also, has that tremendous name ID.
David, Chris Wilkes is
I'm sorry.
I was say Chris Wilkes is slamming it in Berkeley County over 80%. Not nearly as well in Jefferson County, and he would really have to dominate all the counties in the Eastern Panhandle, I thought, to have a chance in this one.
Yeah, he needs collectively in the three counties of the Eastern Panhandle. I think he needs to be at 70% combined. So if he's doing over 80 in Berkeley and he does a little bit less than that in Jefferson, he could still do the 70% of the three counties combined. And again, look to see how he's doing in those counties surrounding the Morgantown area. I think that's where he has campaigned the hardest and put what money he had into those areas. Another thought I have on this, too, if Armstead loses, this isn't a discussion for tonight, but if Armstead does not win this race, will the governor turn around and appoint him to the eventual opening of Alan Lawfrey's seat?
Ooh.
Again, like a double appointment. So something to watch.
There's political risk. There's political risk there for the governor. Now, no one really knows if he's going to run for re-election again. I mean, early indication would suggest he is. But there could be. I mean, that's in essence going against the will of the electorate. And that I could see that potentially backfiring in the governor's face down the road. He'd have to think long and hard about doing that. But we'll see. I mean, the question is, did Jenkins get a boost for getting that appointment that he got? I mean, I don't know if that helped out, or obviously his name ID in the 3rd district was helpful. But I'm curious if maybe that might have helped him with the runaway.
Jenkins didn't get the money put into the campaign either for him or against him that the other division attracted, because I think there was an assumption that Jenkins was going to win, that he was just too much horsepower compared to all of the others, and that's why I think the Armstead situation attracted so much outside money. But just a thought there. I mean, you're right. There would be risk there, but if the governor appointed him once, there would be no reason why he wouldn't do it again.
By the way, this is Talk Radio WRNR Martinsburg as we're near the top of the hour here on our 2018 election night coverage. We're into our second hour here with Jason Barrett, Craig Blair, John Reisenweber, Joe Ferretti, and via telephone, David Welch. Now, here are the amendment results so far that we've counted 186,000 plus votes on Amendment 1, the constitutional or no constitutional right to abortion amendment. 51% voted against that to this point. 49% have voted for. And Amendment 2 to the judicial budget oversight. This one I'm kind of surprised at these numbers. I thought the numbers for would be higher. They're still convincingly high at 72%. But I'm shocked that 28% of the voters out of 175,000 votes cast would vote against this amendment, considering what happened with the Supreme Court case.
Well, I think there's some factor that people are just opposed to just about everything. So I don't know what percentage of voters that is, but they make up a group of that 28%.
Well, you only got 97% of the vote, right, so when you're unopposed.
That's like one of those Soviet elections, right, from the 1970s.
Well, the other thing of these amendments, if you don't understand them, if you don't exactly understand what the amendment's all about, your inclination is to vote against it because it's easier. You know, I don't know what that means, so it can't be good. So I think you get a little bit of that too. So if they didn't fully understand exactly what that amendment was doing, they may have voted against it. Now I do think that one was much clearer than the other one, the amendment number 1,
constitutional abortion.
The constitutional abortion amendment. I actually struggled with trying to understand exactly what the intent was there and exactly what the amendment spoke to. Craig and I talked a little bit about it earlier. We've got 2 of our legislators here and the very capable Joe Ferretti, who has a great legal mind, and I would defer to those to my 3 colleagues here on exactly what that amendment number 1 constituted. The concern I had was that there wasn't a carve out for rape, incest, or if the mother's life was in danger. Now Craig corrected me, and I'm assuming correctly corrected me that there is a carve out for that. So I really don't know, but that was the misconception I had about it, and so I'm still not sure. You know, I take Craig at his word. I'm sure he's right, but
it's in statute.
Yeah, but the carve-out's in the weeds, and what you see on paper today when you're voting is something different, and so it's tough for people to understand. And I suspect you're going to get a fair number of votes of people who don't really understand the implications of either one of these amendments.
Well, and I really expected the folks that supported Amendment 1, the organizations, to really to have a better effort with a campaign.
I agree with that.
I really thought it would be almost like a regular, for a statewide office campaign, and it really wasn't. And you saw the Susan B. Anthony organization dump a bunch of money into West Virginia late, but it wasn't for Amendment 1. It was for Patrick Morrisey, and I think that they may have been just a little arrogant in thinking that was going to really pass overwhelmingly. I think that, again, a lot of these votes come in West Virginia late in the South where you would expect it to do better.
By the way, I wanted to pass along a thank you for listening to the folks at the Berkeley County Democratic Headquarters who are listening to us, about 60 strong. Appreciate you tuning in tonight on Talk Radio WRNR and on TV tonight on Comcast Cable TV Channel 10 in both Berkeley and in Jefferson County, John.
Well, I agree with Jason there. I think, what you heard about Amendment 1 was that it basically was going to eliminate taxpayer-funded abortions. That's what you heard, and that's, I would think that might be something that would have broad support, but clearly there's more to it than that, and I don't. What were the vote totals we're seeing on that, Rob? Is that passing?
186,000 on the latest refresh. 51% against the amendment for the constitutional right to abortion. No constitutional right to abortion amendment. 49% have voted for it.
So it's actually failing as we speak.
It's failing by about 3,000 votes, but keep in mind this is 4 out of 55 counties counted.
Right. I'll be interested to see where that lays out. Jason, I agree with you 100%. If you want to get that passed, there certainly wasn't a very coordinated campaign to do so. So the folks that were supportive of that should have done a better job, or at least early indications would suggest. So we'll see what happens as the night goes on.
Go ahead, Dave.
Rob, I've got a good idea for a show. I think we should get all 7 people who voted against Barrett into the room one day and have a show.
An airing of the grievances. It could be like Festivus.
Ferretti has a theory on who those 7 people are.
Let's not go there.
We're not going to discuss that online.
We certainly are not, and we're not going to get that done in a 2-hour show anyway.
There's way more than 7. That's for sure.
I happened to go into the voting booth at the same time Mike Carl did when we were early voting last week. And I said, "So, Mike, did you split your ticket?" He goes, "I certainly did. I voted for Jason Barrett." So.
That's the only reason he did it, so he could say that.
He did point out that he was going to do that. So,
Jason,
very nice.
I wish I could have voted for you. I don't live in the city, so I couldn't vote for you. I would have, though. I would have.
Well, I appreciate that.
I mean that.
In studio with us, Jason Barrett. Craig Blair has been quiet for a little while over there. Check and make sure he's not getting himself into trouble, Jason.
I'll make sure he's not falling asleep.
I'm not falling asleep.
John Reisenweber and Joe Ferretti. David Welch is on the WVU Medicine Berkeley Medical Center talk line with us via the telephone there from sunny Southern California, where sounds like it's a little windy there, Dave.
It's got a little breeze going. The sun has gone down, but I'm still sitting outside. It's kind of nice.
I should play the Pina Colada song for you while we have the chance.
There you go. Yeah.
38% of the vote counted Joe Manchin with a 6-point lead over Patrick Morrisey at this time. Watching that Ojeda race, Jason, because that spread in the early voting was not good for him.
No, it wasn't, and I've heard that the Fayette County numbers, which is obviously in the 3rd district, are not good for Richie Ojeda. They're also not good for our House of Delegates candidates in Fayette. So that's kind of a surprise to some degree. I've looked at some of these House of Delegates races across the state. I think we're going to have a lot of new members of the legislature, at least on the House side. I think in southern West Virginia, the Democrat candidates are struggling a little bit. When you look up to the northern part of the state, for example, the district I mentioned earlier, the 51st, which is the Mon County district, a 5-member, which was a 3-2 split from Democrat to Republican. It appears that it's all precincts, all 39 of 39 precincts in Monongalia County are in, and it looks like it's a clean sweep for Democrats. So, it's just, again, we're seeing different results across the state, but it looks like there are going to be a lot of new members of the House of Delegates. It appears to me that the Democrats are going to pick up at least a handful of seats.
You thought 8 when we talked on Friday.
That was my number, yeah, and I talked to a lot of members all across the state today, some folks on both sides of the aisle. The consensus was, somewhere in that 7, 8, 9 range. There were some up into double digits. A few Republicans were a little more conservative, and they thought maybe 4 to 5. But I think it's going to be somewhere around maybe 7 to 10 or so.
What's the current margin, Jason? What's the
64-36?
64-36. Okay.
48 of 66 in Berkeley County reporting, and let's get to those races for the local House of Delegates district seats now. And we start first with the 59th, Larry Kump and John Eisner, and Kump enjoying a huge lead there. Right now it's a bit better than 20 points, and that is with 3,700 votes counted as of now. This is good. Greg, you have better numbers?
No, same numbers. Did you say anything about Folk? He is at least leading right now in Berkeley County in the 16th district.
Yeah, he's going to need to pick up his lead. Folk has jumped ahead by 83 votes with almost 14,000 cast, but he's trailing large in Jefferson County.
Trust me, I remember that in 2010. I won Berkeley County, but I did not win Jefferson.
That's the vintage Unger formula, by the way. I mean, it's not the first time. If he wins tonight by losing Berkeley County, it's always been Jefferson County that saved him. So that's a vintage Unger strategy.
Yeah, and then we continue to work our way up the ladder now and get to the 62nd, where Tom Bibby, and this is the old John Overington seat forever, and Tom Bibby with about a 34-point plus lead over Cynthia Tootle, and that's with 5,500 plus votes cast there. Sam Brown, Brett Rogers, and John Hardy in a three-way race in the 63rd. John Hardy right now is up with almost 50% of the vote. Obviously, if you can get 50% of the vote in a three-way race, you're gold. Sam Brown, I should say, with about 42%. Brett Rogers is taking about 8 1/3 off the top here. Barbie Frankenberry, Eric Householder in the 64th. The current vice chair of finance right now with about a 15-point lead over 3,700 votes cast in that one. County council races. Bill Stubblefield, the independent, going against James Barnhart, the incumbent, and Jim Barnhart is cruising with a 5,700 vote lead right now. About 19,000 plus counted there.
Let's call this race. Okay. There's no way that it can be made up there with the 3,000 votes with the remaining precincts there.
And one more, just to say before we get to comments, Elaine Mock with a 5,000 vote lead over Dr. McGill in the other Berkeley County seat. That's
probably call that one too. Yeah.
Yep, call that one too. You know who your commissioners are in Berkeley County.
And what you see there, guys, in that county council race, and I tried to say this earlier, but probably didn't say it very well. I just think you've got Republicans who went into the booth and said and just voted for both Republicans, and that's the vote totals there are fairly close. But in terms of the two of them getting about the same amount of votes, that's just a Republican sweep for county council.
Well, Dave, Bill Stubblefield was a longtime Republican and switched independent. So, you could be right there. I mean, he ran as a Republican when he was on the council the last time. He always has had an independent streak. He's not what I would characterize as a far-right Republican by any means. But, you're right. Sometimes party affiliation carries the day. I will say Elaine Mock ran very, very well in a crowded primary. So that
trounced
trounced, yeah, the incumbent. And I just, in the interest of full disclosure, I have a lot of respect for Elaine. Elaine took care of my grandmother in her older years as she was suffering from the ravages of Alzheimer's at her Silver Age care facility. So I have a lot of affection for Elaine. So she always gets my vote. But she's a longtime legislator. A lot of the kids that she taught in the school system are now voting for her, and she won that primary handily in a crowded field. So I think she speaks her mind. If you know Elaine, she doesn't mince words, and she's out and about and making the rounds, and I think you see the results there. I think it's a little more than just Republicans sticking together on. I think Elaine has a proven track record of being able to win elections.
Joe, I agree with John on this. The county council actually is probably the least affected by whether it's a Republican or Democrat. And the reason for that is because they're really the closest ones to the people. The people get to hear more from the county council than anybody else on what's going on. You can go in and out of office real quick on one deed that you did on the council.
Yeah, you're right.
And so it actually attributes to Barnhart and Elaine Malk on the work that they've done, because they've been able to go through, and you haven't given a reason to throw them out.
Well, and this speaks to the couple issues that came up near the end of the campaign season with the county council. The rancor over the fire fee raise, which obviously was not done correctly according to one of the local judges here, and they got to back and do a redo on that. A lot of people upset about that. And then the issue with pay raises that came up at the end. So I heard a lot of negative feedback on that too, but it doesn't seem to have resonated with voters.
Well, because I believe that neither of the challengers made it a campaign issue. I mean, I didn't see anyone actually attack their opponent for that, or at least, maybe not attack's not the right word, but at least call their opponent out for supporting something that a judge overturned. So, I don't know that any of these campaigns were really all that aggressive, certainly for good people, but I don't know that the campaigns were really what they needed to be. As I look down through these races here in Berkeley County, I'm struggling to find one that is going to change the outcome from where it is right now. Now, I'm not saying that it can't be done, but the margins to me look to be insurmountable at this point.
A program note: in 4 minutes, we'll break away for our next CBS National update over what's happening around the country tonight.
I would agree with Jason on his comments about those county council races. Dr. McGill, I listened to him speak at some of the events that you had here on the radio, and he really was, very well intended, very smart guy.
Impressive.
Very impressive, but pretty much a single issue campaign, the opioid crisis, which is a tremendous problem, and that definitely needs to be addressed. But he didn't really talk about much else other than that.
The Berkeley County voters are sick of negative campaigning, though. And I've witnessed that firsthand. And if you come out here, and we're probably getting to see this down there in the Hardy race with Brown and what was the other one's name? I've done forgot.
Brett Rogers.
Brett Rogers. That negative campaigning, I predicted that Hardy would win that race. Number one is he's painted people's houses like I'll put water softeners in for people. They know him one-on-one. The next thing is he wasn't out here going negative on it, and that going over and over and over on the radio eventually gets to the psyche, especially of the Berkeley County voter. It's one thing if you're running for a U.S. Senate race or a congressional race and you hear that banter going back and forth, but when you get it down to the delegate district level and that's going on, I think that's one of the reasons why I did a little less better than what I should have against John Unger, because I was pointing things out. You want to win these races, talk about what you're going to do. Not what the other person has done, but what you're going to do. And I think it's exactly why we're seeing Hardy winning that race.
I agree with. In fact, I'm glad you brought up John Hardy. I didn't know him, but I got to know him over some of the radio presentations that he did here, and I was very, very impressed with him. Small business owner. And Craig, you're right on the mark. He wasn't negative. He spoke about the things that he wanted to work on. When he was asked a question that he didn't really know the answer to, he didn't give you a line of BS. He basically said, well, I don't know. That's something I'll have to research a little further.
Sam put an ad together essentially saying, I don't know.
Right. He was,
right.
Well, and Sam, Sam Brown, he's, what is he, 20, 21 years old? And I mean, when you compare life experiences between John Hardy, who knows what it takes to meet payroll, which Craig very aptly pointed out, and is clearly a hardworking individual, has a successful small business, and you translate that and his life experiences to somebody who's 20, 21 years old, who's also going negative, Craig, I think you're right. That's a recipe for a failed campaign on Sam Brown's part, and I think John Hardy did a very, very good job. I'm very impressed with him, and I hope he takes that tenor down to Charleston when he wins.
We're about a minute left to our
We're talking about a 4 or 5% lead in a race that has been double digits for the past 2 cycles. I mean, I think Mike Folk beat the sheriff, Kenny Laymaster at the time, by 18 or 20 points.
Kenny was a very reluctant candidate.
Well, and that very well may be, but he had name ID through the roof. So here Sam is young in a district that the Republicans have won. He's come within 4 or 5 points. It's real easy to say that you shouldn't do contrast piece or go negative, as you call them, but at the same time, it's real easy to say that when your registration numbers are overwhelming on your side, and if there's no negative, you're going to win.
Well, as a Republican, I hope the Democrats keep doing the negative.
Go ahead, David.
I think what happened in the 63rd is that Mike Folk turned that into a Republican district. If you add the numbers of Rogers, the Libertarian, with Hardy, who has 50%, this would be a runaway. 100% of those races, those votes would have gone to Hardy virtually. This would be a 58-42 race, and we wouldn't even be talking about it as a race within margin. Mike Folk turned this into a solid red district, and I think that's just the way it is.
Yeah, David, we got our CBS breakout of John Rosenweber agrees with you. Jason Barrett shakes his head no, says you're all wrong. I got the right answer, and I'll tell you all about it after our break here. It's 9:20 as we work our way through the second hour of election night coverage.
CBS News Special Report, Campaign 2018.
CBS News projects Republican Mike Braun will unseat Democratic Senator Joe Donnelly in Indiana. Here's correspondent Stephen Portnoy.
It'll go quite a way to expanding their majority if they can do it. The Indiana Senator Joe Donnelly, a Democrat in his first term, defeated by businessman and state legislator Mike Braun. You remember, Indiana, President Trump won it by 19 points in the last go-around.
But Democrats also expected to flip a Virginia House seat. Correspondent Chris Van Cleve.
With Jennifer Wexton winning in Virginia 10, it's the first time in nearly 40 years this district will be represented by a Democrat. It was won by Hillary Clinton by nearly 10 points, so it was a must-win for Democrats. Jennifer Wexton, a state senator here and a former prosecutor in Loudoun County, that's a suburb of Washington, D.C. Barbara Comstock was running for her 3rd term.
House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi just minutes ago.
My friends, tonight a historic victory is within our grasp. A victory we do not seek in the name of our party, but for America's hardworking families.
Extended voting underway in Georgia, where Republican Brian Kemp has pulled ahead of Democrat Stacey Abrams in the governor's race there.
Stacey Abrams' campaign has put out word that in Gwinnett County, which is north and east of Atlanta, the second most heavily populated county in Georgia, they are keeping some of the polls open until 9:30. Statewide, polls closed here at 7 p.m.
CBS's Jim Krasula. CBS News Special Report. I'm Steve Dorsey.
And I'm Bill.
Shop Miller's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram today and find over 150 new and used vehicles to choose from. From gas savers to SUVs to four-wheel drive trucks, all of the new and most of the pre-owned vehicles come standard with a lifetime powertrain warranty. Now you can drive away with peace of mind knowing your vehicles are covered for life. And the best part about it, there are no service requirements with Miller's, and it's all included to you at no extra cost. That's right, no extra charge, and you're not required to service with us. Just follow the manufacturer's recommendations, and you're covered for life. With great quality vehicles and a great price, you can't miss with Miller's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Our courteous, experienced, and professional staff is waiting to assist you with finding the perfect vehicle that fits all of your needs. Unbeatable deals and excellent financing is right down the road. Stop in today. Miller's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Route 9 and Kelly Island Road just east of Martinsburg, or online at MillerChryslerJeep.com. Miller's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, home of the lifetime powertrain warranty.
When you do the same thing for 135 years, you learn to do it well. For 135 years, we've been helping families through the hardest times of their lives. That's because we're a family as well. When your family loses a loved one, we're here to help. We're Brown Funeral Home in Martinsburg, Inwood, and Charlestown, Ranson. We're here when you need us.
A DUI arrest can have a devastating impact on one's life, your job, your driver's license, and in some cases your very freedom. My name is Harley Wagner. I own and operate West Virginia's only exclusive DUI defense firm. Since 1999, I've been representing citizens throughout the Eastern Panhandle and state of West Virginia charged with DUI. Let my years of training and experience work for you.
The initial consultation is free at the Wagner Law Firm in Martinsburg. Phone 304-901-7400 or online at westvirginiaduilawyers.com.
Crime is on the rise. Shield yourself with a new Smith & Wesson MP 2.0 shield, chambered in 9mm, 40 Smith & Wesson or 45 ACP. Valley Guns 2 has a wide selection of Smith & Wesson handguns, including the Model 60 and 640 Pro Series revolvers. For the ladies, there's the Smith & Wesson 380 Shield Easy. It's easy to load, easy to shoot, and easy to carry. For the full line of Smith & Wesson handguns, head to Valley Guns 2, Exit 5 off I-81 Inwood, West Virginia, online at valleyguns2.com.
Hi, honey.
Where are you?
I've been in line at the post office for the last 30 minutes.
Why are you at the post office? It'll take you all day.
Where else do I go to ship my packages or drop FedEx off at?
Honey, going postal is way faster, has less lines, and friendly service.
Where's going postal?
It's right in the Common Shopping Center in Martinsburg. They'll ship your packages quickly, and you can avoid the lines.
Going postal should be your first choice for all your shipping needs. Going postal, the Commons, Martinsburg. Welcome back to our coverage of Election Night 2018, providing national updates through CBS and our local ones here in studio. Rob Mario here along with David Welch on the WVU Medicine Berkeley Medical Center talk line. Joe Ferretti, John Reisenweber, Senator Craig Blair, and Delegate Jason Barrett. And D-Dub, I know you got to cut out after the next update in about 6 minutes. So want to get some thoughts from you before we say goodnight to you, sir.
Well, it looks like it's going to be a little bit of a different Eastern Panhandle delegation from what we're seeing right now. It looks like these two flips that are going to go from Republican to Democrat. Sammy Brown appears to be in the driver's seat against Jill Upson. I don't know if that will change. And I think if the numbers hold true in the 67th, where they were at least during the last report, John Doyle looks like he's coming back to the House of Delegates. And so if all of this holds right now, Jason Barrett will no longer be the lone delegate in the Eastern Panhandle. We're going to have a little bit more of a mix, I think. Jason, you're saying that the two races in Jefferson County that we talked about have gone final?
That is what a text I just got from someone that said they were official. Both the John Doyle is over Riley Moore and Sammy Brown over Jill Upson.
And you got margins on those, Jason?
Yeah, I'll give you some numbers in just a second here. Go ahead, David.
I can tell you that whether you agree or disagree with Sammy Brown and John Doyle, they are both, I think, colorful, energetic people, and I think that they will add a dimension to the political scene that we haven't seen in a few years, whether you agree with that or not. And I would just want to say, if these numbers are true, would like to say to Riley Moore and Jill Upson that they have both been outstanding members of the House of Delegates. They have both, I think, executed their jobs very, very well. And having said that, I also want to congratulate, as I'm sure we all do, Sammy Brown and John Doyle if these numbers hold. So looking forward to a new set of delegates coming in to be interviewed. I would only ask this question sort of in parting, that I will always wonder why Jill Upson did not want to come on our show and be interviewed on the morning program during the campaign. Not that we're kingmakers or anything, but it is a place where people come in the morning and listen to and learn about politics. And I wonder if that was a mistake on her part.
I would tell you that we did invite her numerous times. We tried to accommodate any date or time request, and she was never able to come to an agreement with us on a day and time to come into the radio station for an interview. Obviously, that's up to the candidate. We don't compel you to come in. That's your choice. You don't have to come in. She's in Jefferson County. We're in Berkeley County. It's a bit of a drive.
I just found out y'all accommodate for date and time. I never knew that.
Within our 8 to 10 time frame.
They only share that with special people, Craig.
Yeah, they call me up at 10 o'clock at night. Can you be in tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock?
And then Craig goes, I'm in Charleston right now. I'm like, and?
It's kind of a drive, right?
Here are the numbers from Jefferson County on the House of Delegates races, and here are the margins. And this is, according to the Jefferson County website, 100% precincts reporting everything in the green. The donut is totally green, and that means that 100% reporting. So here are the final numbers. Sammy Brown, 3,515 votes. Jill Upson, 3,159. That is a 5.3% margin right there. Paul Espinosa in the 66 will be the only Republican staying in Jefferson County as a member of the House. Espinosa with a convincing win over David Dinges. With 6,566 votes cast, Paul got about 58%, Dinges 42%. And in the 67th, John Doyle, who served, I believe it was 20 years in the House, will go back with that seat. And Riley Moore, despite the fact that Riley was named House Majority Leader by Roger Hanshaw, Riley will not get to be the House Majority Leader because he's lost his election tonight to John Doyle with 7,481 votes cast. John Doyle picked up about 56% of the vote. Riley Moore, 44%. That's a blowout.
Yeah, I'm surprised it was that large, but I was concerned that Riley would not win re-election. It's too bad because he was very, very effective. He did a lot for tourism, a lot for business development. And I think handled himself with a lot of class and grace, as did Jill. And as a Republican, I'm sorry to see both of those two very astute legislators not get re-election. But we'll welcome Sammy and John back into the fray and go from there.
CBS News has projected Joe Manchin to be the winner in West Virginia. By the way, in case you didn't catch that.
I don't. Going back to your comments, I agree with them, and I don't think we've heard the last of either one of those folks in terms of the political arena.
Yeah, I hope that's the case.
And having served with both of them and several folks that are probably going to come up a little short tonight, both on the R&D side across the state, everyone that I serve with in the legislature, and Anna Craig will agree with this, that everybody goes down there for the right reasons. And we may disagree on just about anything, or everything, I should say, but everybody's there for the right reason. And losing an election is extremely tough, and I know it's going to be tough for those two and a lot of folks. Craig and I have both done it. It's not any fun. People really put themselves out there and running, campaigning and running is very stressful, not only the candidate but their family as well. So, it's tough for those two, and like I said, it's tough for a lot of them, and I certainly feel for them at this point.
Jefferson County 100% in, Berkeley County 63 out of 66 precincts. Mike Folk with a 264 vote lead in Berkeley County, but in Jefferson County he is trailing by 1,751 votes. So it looks like John Unger will be headed back to the state Senate.
Yeah, and I think when you look at those two House races that we just talked about, with those two winning by fairly large margins, I just don't see any way it was possible that Unger wouldn't run up the numbers in Jefferson County.
We're late for our 31 join. David Welch, thank you very much. And now off to CBS.
Jennifer Wexton claimed victory over Republican incumbent Barbara Comstock in Northern Virginia, an area heavy with federal employees.
Change is coming to America, and change is coming to Virginia 10. And that change came tonight.
CBS News also projects Democrat Donna Shalala in a Florida seat that was in GOP hands. Democrats needed a total of 23 seats to take the House. Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi.
My friends, tonight a historic victory is within our grasp. A victory we do not seek in the name of our party, but for America's hardworking families.
Democrats have lost a seat in the Senate. When all the votes are counted in Indiana, CBS News projects the Senate race will go to Republican Mike Braun. CBS News Special Report, I'm Pam Coulter.
Shop Miller's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram today and find over 150 new and used vehicles to choose from. From gas savers to SUVs to four-wheel drive trucks, all of the new and most of the pre-owned vehicles come standard with a lifetime powertrain warranty. Now you can drive away with peace of mind knowing your vehicles are covered for life. And the best part about it, there are no service requirements with Miller's, and it's all included to you at no extra cost. That's right, no extra charge, and you're not required to service with us. Just follow the manufacturer's recommendations, and you're covered for life. With great quality vehicles and a great price, you can't miss with Miller's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Our courteous, experienced, and professional staff is waiting to assist you with finding the perfect vehicle that fits all of your needs. Unbeatable deals and excellent financing is right down the road. Stop in today. Miller's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, Route 9 and Kelly Island Road, just east of Martinsburg, or online at MillerChryslerJeep.com. Miller's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, home of the lifetime powertrain warranty.
You've been injured, you're missing work, the medical bill collectors keep calling, and the other person's insurance company wants a lot of confusing paperwork signed and returned. At Ferretti Law Office, we handle these situations to protect your rights and get you the compensation you deserve. We explain how the insurance coverages work for your benefit and what a lawyer like me can do to make a difference. Call Ferretti Law Office at 264-8505 to schedule an appointment to discuss your situation for free. At Ferretti Law Office, we're here to help.
When you do the same thing for 135 years, you learn to do it well. For 135 years, we've been helping families through the hardest times of their lives. That's because we're a family as well. When your family loses a loved one, we're here to help. We're Brown Funeral Home in Martinsburg, Inwood, and Charlestown, Ranson. We're here when you need us.
Ladies, come to Valley Guns 2 and see the new Smith & Wesson 380 Shield EZ. It's easy to load, easy to shoot, and easy to carry. While you're there, check out the full line of Smith & Wesson handguns, including the MP 2.0 9mm full-size semi-automatic and the MP 2.0 compact, or the Model 60 and 640 Pro Series revolvers. Find these and more at Valley Guns 2, Exit 5 off I-81 Inwood, West Virginia. Online at valleyguns2.com.
Hi, honey.
Where are you?
I've been in line at the post office for the last 30 minutes.
Why are you at the post office? It'll take you all day.
Where else do I go to ship my packages or drop FedEx off at?
Honey, going postal is way faster, has less lines, and friendly service.
Where's going postal?
It's right in the Common Shopping Center in Martinsburg. They'll ship your packages quickly, and you can avoid the lines.
Going postal should be your first choice for all your shipping needs. Going postal, the Commons, Martinsburg. We're back with more coverage in 30 seconds.
A DUI arrest can have a devastating impact on one's life, your job, your driver's license, and in some cases, your very freedom. My name is Harley Wagner. I own and operate West Virginia's only exclusive DUI defense firm. Since 1999, I've been representing citizens throughout the Eastern Panhandle and state of West Virginia charged with DUI. Let my years of training and experience work for you.
The initial consultation is free at the Wagner Law Firm in Martinsburg. Phone 304-901-7400 or online at WestVirginiaDUILawyers.com.
Halfway through our election night coverage here on Talk Radio WRNR, David Welch has left us on the WVU Medicine Berkeley Medical Center talk line. It is now open at 304-263-6540 or 304-263-6586. Joining us in studio tonight, Delegate Jason Barrett, State Senator Craig Blair, John Reisenweber, and Attorney Joe Ferretti is in as well. All of these gentlemen with a great deal of political experience one way or the other. Two are people who have held office. Another is a person who has managed a campaign or two and worked for who is now a U.S. Senator. And also Joe Ferretti, who as an attorney is always playing politics.
That's simply not true, Joe.
I've done nothing in politics.
I play politics every day.
I like the tips that Craig Blair handed out about campaigning. If I run for state senate, I'll have to remember that.
What would you do first?
I wouldn't go negative. That's what Craig Blair said. Don't go negative. So.
Yeah, I'm telling you that was a mistake when I ran against John Unger, even though I was only pointing out his voting record. And I've witnessed this, and I've watched these races out here. Talk about what you want to do, and the people respect you for that. And I'm really speaking of Berkeley County. When you get up in the higher offices, some of that negative works, because it's proven that it works. Mm-hmm. But when you get down to the local level, it doesn't do as well.
I agree with you, Craig. I mean, you got to run into these people at the grocery store and at the bank, and you've got to deal with them. It's not like in Washington where you can you come back to your home state or your home district and you tear each other up, and then you go back to Washington and folks don't see you. I mean, when you're local, you're seeing these people every day. You're seeing them at the Little League field. You're seeing them at the grocery store, and you gotta conduct yourself with some decorum. And I remember when I ran for the legislature back in 2000, a long time ago. I was very careful not to say negative things about my opponent. She was highly respected, and I had some folks in my party that were encouraging me to go negative, and I refused to do it, and ended up losing. But frankly, I felt like I maybe lost the battle but won the war, so to speak, because I had folks come up to me afterwards, and I got a lot of congratulations on running a good, clean race, and that meant a lot to me. And my parents raised me in a manner that not to do that to people. My mom always said, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything. So Craig, I agree with you 100%. I think at the local races.
Let me throw one last thing out here on that too, and I'm taking Delegate Sarah Blair's place here. She's always come in before, but when she first ran for office, she had that little pamphlet that was like 12 pages or whatever. You know what one of the most amazing things is that she talked about all the things that she wanted to do, and she's left, when she leaves the office and everything in that pamphlet that she mailed out originally has been accomplished. I wish I had the luxury of being able to say that on the things, but she had those things in place. So as she departs the legislature, what she had promised or said that she wanted to do, she really didn't make promises. She has actually accomplished that. I didn't mean to throw her.
Couldn't you convince her to run again? I mean,
I didn't get her to run to start with.
That's not the point. You should have encouraged her to stay in there. We need her.
Well, when your daughters get older, you'll find out that you're not going to tell them to.
No, you're right. You're right, Craig. And I'm already realizing that, and she's 13. So.
Well, Sarah's tenure's over as a member of the House of Delegates, Craig, and I can remember the night she was elected. You were in here. In studio, I don't think you had to run that night, so you were doing what you're doing now, maybe with Butch Pennington too, if I recall.
Yeah, I was. I'd forgotten about that.
You found out your daughter won office while you were live on the air, sitting here. I remember the look of pride on your face, and that kind of began a little Sarah tour. She got to go to New York to be on a couple of national shows. Mm-hmm. She was considered to be like a young rock star in the Republican Party.
She's been all over, for that matter, for the uniqueness of what she had done, and which is being the youngest person ever elected to a legislature in the United States ever. So
Indeed.
It doesn't make any difference.
Carried herself with a lot of grace while she was there, Craig. I got to give her a lot of credit for being that young.
Hey,
did a great job.
Now, you want to get ready and go through, and Berkeley County just updated 66 out of 66.
So all of them are in there now.
So you can go through there, Rob. And
let's go take a look at some of the. Let me get my refresh here so that it actually gives me all 66, and there it is, 66. So I would presume these to be 100%. The final results, give or take. So here we go. And we're going to go with not the compartmental races like Manchin and Morrissey. Those are statewide, so how they did in Berkeley County is interesting, but ultimately it's not really the final story, so we're not going to pay a whole lot of attention to that. We'll give you those with the final numbers there once those eventually come out. Let's start in Senate District 15. Charles Trump and Jason Armentrout. Armentrout, the independent, picked up 28% of the vote. Not bad for an independent. There was no Democrat in this race. Charlie Trump cruises to a return to the 15th senatorial district seat with 71% of the vote. John Unger and Mike Folk in Berkeley County. Mike Folk won that race by 64 votes, but John Unger in Jefferson County was, frankly, dominant. He won Jefferson County by almost 1,751 votes exactly. So John Unger returns to the state Senate in the 16th senatorial district. Back to Berkeley County now as we work our way up through the House of Delegates in the 59th. It'll be Larry Kump, the seat that Sarah Blair took from him 4 years ago. And Larry Kump returns to it with almost 61% of the vote over John Eisner.
And that has a Morgan County component to it, too. I think it's 4 precincts.
4 precincts, which we can't get numbers out of Morgan County.
Right, we don't have those.
Yeah, so I'm glad you pointed that out. Also on to the 62nd Delegate District, Cynthia Tootle and Tom Bibby. This was John Overington's seat for 34 consecutive years. Tom Bibby with nearly 68% of the vote. You might remember Tom Bibby, ultimately unopposed in the primary, lost in the primary to someone who had withdrawn from the ballot for health reasons. Tom ultimately, though, wins that district handily with 68% of the vote to Cynthia Tootle's 32%. Sam Brown, Brett Rogers, and John Hardy in a three-way race for the 63rd, where John Hardy captured nearly 50% of the vote. Brett Rogers had 8.4%, son of head coach David Rogers of Martinsburg. Not bad for a Libertarian. Sam Brown's first run for office results in about 42% of the vote for the 20-year-old who works at Shepherd University. Also, moving our way up now to the 64th, Eric Householder will return to the House of Delegates with 58+% of the vote to Barbie Frankenberry's 41.6%. County Council races. Bill Stubblefield challenged Jim Barnhart. Jim Barnhart picked up 16,549 votes. Bill Stubblefield running as an independent. Respectable 8,292 votes, but he still loses by a 2-to-1 margin. Elaine Mock, 18,619 votes. Dr. William Zakim McGill, 11,284. Elaine Mock is back as a county councilwoman, and handily too, I might add, gentlemen.
Can we add in some United States Senate stuff?
We can. What do you have for us?
Well, it looks like Indiana has flipped. Joe Donnelly has given that seat up to Braun in Indiana, so the Republicans have a pickup there. Looks like the Heitkamp race in North Dakota seat is leaning Republican, and we got a very interesting, very hot contest in Florida. That thing's about a dead heat with 93% in, and Governor Scott is leading incumbent Senator Nelson by about 100,000 votes. So we still got about 7% to come in, and we'll see. But right now, that one's trending in the Republican column. So right now, we've got Indiana flipping. So the Republicans picked up a race. Marsh Blackburn in Tennessee is going to hold on to Bob Corker's seat. He stepped out, beat former Governor Phil Bredesen, who was actually very popular. So the Republicans hold on to that seat in Tennessee, and we're still waiting on some numbers in some of the other state race or Senate races. It does look like Menendez in New Jersey is going to hold that. Still got a fair amount of vote to come in Missouri, only about 6% in there, and McCaskill, the incumbent right now, is up about 6 points, although it does look like Hawley's got a good shot at that one. Still a lot of vote to come in there. So Republicans are up one. They've held one in that North Dakota seat. I think Heitkamp's probably a goner, so I think you could probably say that so far the Republicans picked up 2 in the Senate.
Let's go to the WVU Medicine Berkeley Medical Center talk line. We're out of the 63rd. Sam Brown, the Democrat who is making a bid for a first term in office, is with us. Good morning. Actually, there I am. Good evening, Sam. Thank you for calling us tonight.
Hey there, folks. Thank you for having me. I just wanted to give a call and offer my congratulations to John Hardy for a race really well fought. And of course, thanks to you guys over at WRNR for some great coverage of our race. It's really been great. So thank you guys. Just wanted to put that out there.
Sam, David Welch thought that you would win this race. He picked you to have a W beside your name as this night was finished. He thought that Brett Rogers would take too many votes away from John Hardy, and that would help you out in your quest to gain this seat. Senator Craig Blair pointed out earlier tonight that in the county, negative campaigning oftentimes does not work. Do you feel that you ran a campaign that included any negative campaigning? And if so, do you think it worked against you tonight?
Well, our whole goal from our campaign was to paint a contrast on some of the issues that we stand for or maybe don't. Running in a district that's, Trump's plus 14 from 2016, I think we gave it a heck of a run for its money. But again, it looks like the folks of the 63rd shows which issues they cared about, and we'll go with that. So, of course, my congratulations to John. And thank you to you guys for some excellent coverage and for giving me a fair shot. Thank you guys so much.
Will you run again, Sam?
We'll see. Time will tell. Time will tell.
It's a bug. It'll get you. Hey, I want to thank you One of the things that doesn't happen often enough in this game is to call and congratulate when you've lost and be gracious of when you get defeated. I want to applaud you for that. It shows something about your personality. So as hard as I can be on negative campaigning on my comments earlier, I can also go just the opposite direction as well and applaud you for what you just did here. I'm proud of you.
Yeah, I'll echo that too, Sam. I think that shows a lot. The fact that you were willing to call in and do that publicly, and so I applaud you and echo what Craig's saying. And we were talking about your race a little bit earlier offline, and being a young person in politics, you've got a bright future ahead of you, and I hope you stick it out and continue to hone your craft and look for opportunities to serve the public. I think you got your feet wet here, and you did a good job, and stick with it. So good luck.
Sam, thank you.
Thank you, folks.
Thank
Have
you.
a great rest of your night.
Thank you for the
Bye-bye.
call. Sam Brown, a candidate out of the 63rd, didn't go his way tonight. Jason Barrett. I know many of the young Democrats in Berkeley County at one point had only you to look to, and still out of the House of Delegates. You are the lone Democrat in the House of Delegates right now. How much advice did candidates seek from you this time around?
Some, and not as much as David and you joked about, but there were times when some of these folks would reach out to me and say, hey, what do you think of this idea or that, or just kind of a strategy about, who should I target in mail-in, that type of thing. But they ran their races, and the two that I'm speaking of are John Eisner and Sam Brown, who are excellent candidates, very intelligent young men who do have bright futures in politics. I'm proud of the race that each of them have run. Coming up a little short, and I did that my first time out as well. But I think Craig really points out something about Sam, to call right after you've lost and be able to say nice things about his opponent, which was a tough race without question. And Craig's exactly right. If you were defeated tonight, if you need to wait till tomorrow, that's okay. But you should always call and congratulate your opponent. I did that with Walter. He did it with me, and then of course Travis Bishop called me as well. It's something that we always have to do.
Travis didn't have to call you. He endorsed you during his campaign against you. Oh, I think I heard that in your ad. From Sam Brown to Sammy Brown, let's go to the WU Medicine Berkeley Medical Center talk line and say hello to the victor in the House of Delegates District Seat 65. Sammy, good evening to you, and congratulations on your win tonight.
Oh, thank you. Hi, guys. How are you?
Hey, I got to tell you, we're going to ask you to hold during the 9:50 network update that's coming our way, and I hope that you can for a minute, but I wanted to get you on before we went to the break here in 30 seconds, and we're going to talk to John Hardy tonight, too. But what do you think, if you could give me a real quick synopsis, what do you think was the key to your win tonight?
Nothing but direct voter contact. It was nothing but getting on the doors, 3,000 doors or bust, and it paid off. Those are the folks that turned out, and we focused on individuals that weren't even historic voters. They're the ones that had been disenfranchised by their government, and we gave them a chance to have a voice. So
right,
they turned out, showed up big.
Sammy, hold on. We'll break for our network update. Be back with more, including John Hardy, too.
CBS News Special Report, Campaign 2018.
Democrats hang on to their Senate seat in West Virginia as CBS News projects Joe Manchin will win re-election. Not looking so good for other Democrats like Joe Donnelly, who's projected to lose his Indiana Senate seat. Here's correspondent Ed O'Keefe.
If Donnelly goes down because he voted against Kavanaugh in a state that is increasingly Republican, that bodes poorly for McCaskill tonight and Heitkamp, two other states that have grown even more Republican in recent years.
Meanwhile, CBS projects Democrats are on track to regain control of the House. Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi.
It will be a victory for our country, restoring checks and balances in our Constitution, honoring the vision of our founders, the sacrifice of our men and women in uniform, and the aspirations of our children.
Too close to call in Florida still.
We have characterized both the governor and U.S. Senate races as toss-ups, and they are still toss-ups. Razor thin. If I sound kind of breathless, it's because at some point these numbers have been within 0.5%, and in some cases within 0.1% of each other. And for a recount in this state, it's got to be 0.5% or less. So, whew.
Correspondent Peter King reporting from Orlando. CBS News Special Report. I'm Steve Dorsey.
And I'm
Shop Miller's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram today and find over 150 new and used vehicles to choose from. From gas savers to SUVs to four-wheel drive trucks, all of the new and most of the pre-owned vehicles come standard with a lifetime powertrain warranty. Now you can drive away with peace of mind knowing your vehicles are covered for life. And the best part about it, there are no service requirements with Miller's, and it's all included to you at no extra cost. That's right, no extra charge, and you're not required to service with us. Just follow the manufacturer's recommendations, and you're covered for life. With great quality vehicles and a great price, you can't miss with Miller's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Our courteous, experienced, and professional staff is waiting to assist you with finding the perfect vehicle that fits all of your needs. Unbeatable deals and excellent financing is right down the road. Stop in today. Miller's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, Route 9 and Kelly Island Road, just east of Martinsburg, or online at MillerChryslerJeep.com. Miller's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, home of the lifetime powertrain warranty.
When you do the same thing for 135 years, you learn to do it well. For 135 years, we've been helping families through the hardest times of their lives. That's because we're a family as well. When your family loses a loved one, we're here to help. We're Brown Funeral Home in Martinsburg, Inwood, and Charlestown, Ranson. We're here when you need us.
A DUI arrest can have a devastating impact on one's life, your job, your driver's license, and in some cases your very freedom. My name is Harley Wagner. I own and operate West Virginia's only exclusive DUI defense firm. Since 1999, I've been representing citizens throughout the Eastern Panhandle and state of West Virginia charged with DUI. Let my years of training and experience work for you.
The initial consultation is free at the Wagner Law Firm in Martinsburg. Phone 304-901-7400 or online at westvirginiaduilawyers.com.
Ladies, come to Valley Guns 2 and see the new Smith & Wesson 380 Shield EZ. It's easy to load, easy to shoot, and easy to carry. While you're there, check out the full line of Smith & Wesson handguns, including the MP 2.0 9mm full-size semi-automatic and the MP 2.0 compact, or the Model 60 and 640 Pro Series revolvers. Find these and more at Valley Guns 2, Exit 5 off I-81 Inwood, West Virginia. Online at valleyguns2.com.
'18 election night coverage continuing on Talk Radio WRNR and TV10, brought to you by the Brown Funeral Homes and Cremations, Miller Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, Harley Wagner, attorney at law, West Virginia's only exclusive DUI defense firm, and Valley Guns 2, Exit 5 off I-81 in Inwood. Rob Mario here with Joe Ferretti, John Reisenweber, Senator Craig Blair, and Delegate Jason Barrett on the WVU Medicine Berkeley Medical Center talk line. Sammy Brown is with us too. Joe, you're about to say something.
Well, I just have a question. We're sure they called this for Manchin, right? Because
CBS News called it for Manchin.
I'm watching the Secretary of State site, and it's down to 1.5 percentage points with about almost half the counties reporting.
Interesting.
Now, I understand that it could be what counties haven't reported yet, but
sure.
Goodness gracious.
Well, Fox has called it for Manchin.
Manchin, too.
Wow.
Sammy Brown is with us, victorious tonight of the 65th, beating the incumbent Jill Upson. Sammy, you were beaten handily in your last election run against Jill Upson.
Wow, you always bring that up. That's harsh.
Not always. That's the first time I brought it up tonight.
On air, anyway.
I'm pointing out the fact that you were beaten handily last time around and you effectively win by 10 points this time. That's a huge swing.
Yes, absolutely is. And that's due to really working it on the doors. I said that from the very beginning, guys. And it's no secret. My past is organizing. I am known statewide and nationally as a very effective field organizer. So this campaign was going back to what I know best in my roots, and we hit the ground game. And frankly, because of those stats that Rob so poignantly stated to begin with, we were the underdog, and we weren't even a favorite within our own party, and so we had to go hustle to make people recognize that the 65th was truly up for grabs, and we did just that. And
Jason Barrett corrects me, it was a 5.3-point win tonight, not 10 points, so my bad on the overstatement there. But either way, congratulations to you on the win, Sammy. I'd like to talk to you again tomorrow morning if you can keep your cell phone on.
Absolutely.
Congratulations. Go get some rest or have a great party.
Thank you. Thank you.
Either way. And with us right now, also on the W Medicine Berkeley Medical Center talk line, is John Hardy out of the 63rd. John, you were fairly quiet during your campaign compared to your opponent, Sam Brown, who was quite boisterous and tried to drive home points on how he differed from you. I know you were laid up for a little while with a heck of an illness that struck you late during the campaign season, but you prevailed tonight. Congratulations.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you guys for having me on this evening. Yeah, we just ran a quiet campaign. We stayed focused. We stayed on message. We quietly knocked about 3,000 doors and did about 15,000 mail pieces, and we did a lot of handwritten letters, and we just ran a real quiet campaign. We tried to stay above the fray, and we just worked hard. I mean, we really worked hard. I know the other two gentlemen worked hard too, and we just worked hard, and we were victorious tonight. And I'm very, very excited about getting to Charleston and being able to work with my fellow Republicans and working in the House and try to keep working to move West Virginia forward. I mean, lots of good ideas and lots of things that we can do to help this state, and that's my goal. That's my number one goal, is to try to do whatever I can do that is best for the state of West Virginia and the Eastern Panhandle. I've lived here my entire life. I've built my business here. I've raised my family here. I'm completely 100% invested in the Eastern Panhandle of West Virginia and the state of West Virginia. And I've been, thinking about this and talking about this for a long time. Craig Blair can tell you about that. Me and him talked about this about 20 years ago. So I'm just really happy to win tonight, and I'm humbled, and I feel so blessed that the people of the 63rd have chosen me to represent them as their delegate, and I just pray that I can do the best job for them that I can really do.
I'm confused. I find Craig to be a very persuasive man, but it took 20 years to get that persuasion in through your thick skin, John Hardy.
Wow. Well, I was pretty young and building a business, and kind of was working in that direction and raising a family, and I knew that we would get here someday once we got the business up and running and established. And we have a phenomenal business because we have phenomenal employees. We have really good people that work for us, and I'm the first one to admit that you're only as strong as the weakest link in your chain. We have good employees. We have great customers. I've got my children, one off to college and one heading there in about a year or so. So it was time for Dad to go out and do what he wants to do.
Well, hey, John, I want to tell Jason will agree with me on this. Be prepared, because for every dollar that you actually make in the legislature through your legislative pay, you will lose $2, maybe even $3 in your business by being away from
Well, you make it sound so appealing, Craig.
Yeah, please, Craig, don't let my wife hear that. Don't let my wife hear that.
Hey,
I still got one in college and another one to get through college, and we're still working on our retirement plan, so we don't want to hear that. But we're going to work hard, and we're just really interested in going to Charleston and doing good things. That's all I want to do.
You have to spit your gum out, Craig.
Excuse me.
Go ahead, John. I was just telling Craig he has to spit his gum out.
I'll get the
okay.
in.
Yeah, we're just really excited about going there and trying to do good things. I told you guys the other morning, I said, I was pretty much raised by my grandparents. I spent a phenomenal amount of time with my grandparents, and they taught me a lot of great things, and I've always tried to take the high road. I've always tried to do the right thing, and it's always worked for me, and I want to continue to be that person. And I just want to do what's good and what's right for West Virginia and the Eastern Panhandle and grow our economy. I feel that the economic development will fix a lot of problems. I mean, a good job fixes a lot of problems. When a man or a woman has a decent living and some money in their pocket, life seems to be a little easier.
Hey, John Reisenweber here. I just want to congratulate you on your win. I'm always pleased to see folks with business acumen come to the legislature. Craig Blair's sitting to my right. And, I know he knows what it means to make payroll. He's a successful small businessman, and you are as well. I was listening to you on the radio the other day, and you talked about making payroll, and you talked about life experiences, and you just reeled off a lot of the things that folks are dealing with, putting kids through college and building a business and going to work every day and taking care of your employees and, looking out for your retirement account, and all the things that families talk about around the kitchen table. I think you bring a wealth of life experience and your business experience to the legislature, and I'm glad to see some fresh blood getting into the legislature, and I wish you the best of luck, and I'm looking forward to hearing good things about you when you get down to Charleston.
Well, thank you very much, John. I'm really looking forward to getting down there and working, not only with the Republicans, but I want to work with the Democrats. And, I don't know Jason that well, and we have a lot of the same mutual friends, and I'm sure that me and Jason are going to be able to work together on some stuff. And just, I want to, we got the campaign behind us and all the rhetoric and all that type stuff. Now let's just go down to Charleston, put our heads down, go to work, and do what's best for this state that we all love so much.
Jason, tell him what he's in store for with text messages from me during the political season.
Oh, yeah, you'll get them at 11, 12 o'clock at night and 6 and 7 o'clock in the morning. But John, congratulations. It was certainly a hard-fought victory, and I think you're exactly right. I mean, the campaign's over, and you know that there's going to be some new members of the legislature, and it looks like the Democrats have picked up a few seats. So I think we all need to be a little more bipartisan, put the election behind us, and just move forward.
John, congratulations on a big night tonight.
Hey, I'd be remiss if I didn't take a second to thank my wife and my kids and my family. This has been, a strain on the family, and my employees and so many people that have come out and supported me, volunteers, people that I don't even know. I don't know how much they believe in me, but they believe in my vision, or they believe in the party, and we've had so much help, and we've just had so many people that come out and helped us, and with work and prayers, and I would be remiss not to thank everyone, and I can't name everyone, but just thank everyone that's been involved in this campaign that's helped us.
John, I think you missed one person, David Welch, who you credited for invigorating your campaign after he picked Sam Brown to win.
Well, me and Dave had a conversation about that, and I told Dave, I said, Dave, I'm not upset at you about that. I said, listen, I understand we all have a job to do. You're doing your job. What you've done is you really invigorated my base and my volunteers, and really got people in the Republican Party really energized in the 63rd race. I mean, they were, but it really helped jumpstart it. I had a delegate today that signed waved for me all day. Just a lot of people involved, and I told Dave, listen, I will never get upset about that kind of stuff. Everyone has a job to do. You guys need to sell advertisement for Mr. Hornby, and keep everything exciting. And I'm a businessman, and I understand that. So,
well, John, thanks. We appreciate the call. I'll stop in tomorrow, by the way, when you get a chance.
Sounds good.
All right.
Thank you, gentlemen, very much.
John Hardy, victorious out of the 63rd. One of the folks who he defeated tonight, Sam Brown, has already called in to offer his congratulations. And I feel like right now another on Talk Radio WRNR Martinsburg's coverage of Election Night 2018. Brett Rogers is with us right now. Brett, good evening to you, and thanks so much for calling in.
Absolutely. Yeah, I just wanted to congratulate John on a good race. I appreciate everybody including me in this race as a third party. So, I'm happy with my 8%, and I'm glad I can't be blamed for causing John to lose the election like the reports were originally saying. So, I congratulate him. He's a great guy, and I appreciate all the inclusiveness in this election. So, I'm happy with what's happened.
Brett, you picked up
County's still conservative, so.
You picked up 8.39% of the vote. That equated to 480 votes. So going into this thing, from a realistic standpoint, did you have a target in mind of how well you thought you'd do? Obviously, you wanted to win, but when you stepped back and counted the percentages and the votes, what did you think in your head was a realistic goal for a third-party candidate?
I really had no idea. I had, so many Democrats that said they were going to vote for me. In the scheme of things, I know a lot of people. My family knows a lot of people in this town. But when you look at a whole district and the amount of people that actually vote, your name doesn't carry near as far as what you think. So I was just glad to be included. I set my sights low. Our party's used to, like Dave said, 3 to 5%. So I was, I guess, optimistic at first, but most of the people in my party were like, I know you're well known and everybody knows your dad, but it's just not going to happen like that. So we're realistic in things. So I'm happy with 8.5%. I'm hoping that I got my name out there, and we definitely spread the message. So I did what we set out to accomplish, is getting as many people across the state running as a Libertarian Party and let people know they have another option. There's not always just two options. So I can't complain on what's happened here today. And I thank everybody who supported me, my family, and everybody who's donated. I know it's, sometimes I was hesitant in asking for money at first because you don't know how supportive people are actually going to be towards a third party, but I was surprised on how much money I was able to raise. So people are definitely wanting something different. So it's definitely, I'm still optimistic on running as a third party. It's 8.39 is far away from 50%, but we can only hope for more. I'm young, so I still got some years to go.
Yeah, typically third-party candidates in these kind of races get 4%. That's where you usually park yourself. So you doubled that. Congratulations to you, Brett, and maybe we'll see you again in a future election.
Absolutely. Thank you all again.
Brett Rogers.
Congratulations to John Hardy.
Indeed. Thank you, Brett. We appreciate the graciousness. Brett calling on the WVU Medicine Jefferson Medical Center talk line.
Rob, I've been looking at some of these House races across the state, and it's kind of hard to put together what the net gain for the Democrats is. I can't tell you whether it's 3 or 4, whether it's 8 or 10, and partly because the Democrats are losing some seats, and it appears to be this kind of rural versus urban, for as urban as West Virginia can be. But when you look in areas like Morgantown, Charleston, Huntington, you can probably even kind of put the 2 races in Jefferson in that category. The Democrats have picked seats up there. But when you look at some of the other races, Dana Lynch in Webster County, Dana was the assessor there for a very long time. Looks like he's going to lose pretty significantly, it looks like, in a very rural district. And we always called Webster County as Dana country. The Democrats there are far outnumber Republicans, and some other races too. So, it looks like this kind of urban versus rural in West Virginia. I'm not sure what the shakeup is going to be in the House.
If I can follow up on that, speaking of the Senate, I'm seeing the same thing. We've got 22 Republicans out of 34 in the Senate currently. And right now, we have 3 races. One pickup that we thought we were going to get did not happen, and that was in Morgantown. Oliverio did not win. Then so you have Tacubo and Gaunch that are both current senators out of Kanawha County. 2 different Senate districts there. And then the majority leader, Ferns. All 3 of those are statistically tied except for Ferns. It's a 53-47 percent of the vote with 90% of men. Ferns is going to lose, it looks like.
And again, I think it's that whole, you look at the Charleston area, Kanawha County, you look at Morgantown, and you're looking at Wheeling. It's that urban versus rural in West Virginia for this election.
Yes.
And then let me, fellows, update everybody on the Supreme Court race, since we have our own Chris Wilkes running in Division 1 for the West Virginia Supreme Court. With about half of the counties reporting now, Tim Armstead has surged ahead in Division 1 with 24, almost 25% of the vote. Joanna Tabbitt is trailing him by 10,000 votes right now. Chris Wilkes is in 3rd place with 16.58% of the vote, or 52,000. Right now he's 26,000 behind Tim Armstead, with almost half the counties reporting. Since we know Berkeley County has all precincts reporting, I have to assume that the Berkeley County votes are being included in what the state's showing here. So not looking good for Chris Wilkes in terms of Division 1. In Division 2, that clearly is going to be an Evans Jenkins seat. He's still running at 35%, outpacing the next 2 candidates, Denise Smith and Jeff Kessler combined. So he's got 111,000 votes. Next vote tally is 46,000 for Denise Smith. And again, that's with 25 of 55 counties reporting.
The constitutional amendments, the latest on these, now with about 500,000 votes cast. Amendment 1, no constitutional right to an abortion amendment. This is with 83% of the votes, precincts reporting for, 52%, against 48%. So the spread there, 16,000 votes, with right now 301 precincts left to report. 4 up by 16,000 votes right now. If it was to end now, that would pass. Also, Amendment 2, Judicial Budget Oversight Amendment. This gives the legislature the right to control the Supreme Court's budget in the state of West Virginia. That will pass overwhelmingly. The question was whether or not there would be as many as 100 people to vote against this, and the answer is yes. There are 126,000 have voted against it. That's 25% of the 247,000 ballots cast, but this will pass overwhelmingly in the state. I'm, again, surprised that 25% of the people have voted against this.
And again, I think it's about, there's just so many people that I kind of say this jokingly, but there's so many people just opposed to it and maybe just don't want to go through and read all of that. But it's certainly the people of West Virginia made the right decision with passing that amendment tonight.
And CBS News has already called the race for Joe Manchin, but with 83% of the precincts reporting Manchin leading by 4%, that's a margin of 17,500 votes. So I'm not sure what's out there, but that's still 4%.
Well, and John showed me that Fox, which
Fox
recently was saying that was still a toss-up, now has called it for Manchin.
Yeah, the Fox News desk has called that for Manchin.
Now, the Libertarian in this, John, Rusty Holland,
4%.
21,000 votes.
That's it.
If you take those 21,000,
give them to Morrissey. That's a tie. That's a statistical dead heat if there's not a third-party candidate, with the assumption that the lion's share of those votes would go to Morrissey. So. Interesting.
But to be fair, I don't know if you can assume,
not all of them.
Yeah, because there was a lot of disaffected Democrats with Manchin
Sure.
in terms of his vote on Kavanaugh, and I suspect a lot of people said, "Pox on both their houses. I'm voting Libertarian."
And the Libertarian vote for Brett Rogers tonight did not hurt John Hardy.
No, but I think just the numbers here, the sheer numbers, you can look at that and say there's definitely something to it. It would have been a much tighter race, in my opinion, had there not been a third-party candidate. And the other question, Joe, you're right about some of those folks, some of the women in particular, upset about the Kavanaugh vote that Manchin took. The question is, though, did they did a couple of things here. I doubt that those folks, particularly the ladies, would not have jumped ship to vote for Morrissey. They either didn't vote at all, or perhaps, I think that's probably more likely than vote for the Libertarian as a protest vote. Yeah. They certainly wouldn't have voted, wouldn't have jumped ship to vote for Morrissey typically. So I think a lot of those third-party votes would have probably ended up in Morrissey's column. Definitely would have tightened up that race, and that indicates that ought to be a eye-opener for Joe Manchin and how he looks at issues going forward. But Joe's I got to give Joe a lot of credit. I mean, I do think he's tried to work across the aisle, probably more so. He had an ad late in the campaign that described himself as probably the most considered the most independent member of the United States Senate, and I would argue that's probably an accurate reflection based on some of the votes that he's taken. So I think that's if we had more folks trying to work across the aisle, maybe Congress would be a little more functional, and I give Joe some credit for at least making the effort. And maybe there'll be some other colleagues of his in the Senate follow their lead. I know my former boss, Senator Capito, when she was running for some of the House seats early in her career, I remember some of her campaign material, saying the very same thing, an independent voice for West Virginia. I think it served her well. In fact, early in her career, she was, some of the votes they rank the members on the spectrum of, are they considered moderate? Are they a little to the right, a little to the left? And Shelley was consistently early in her career ranked as one of the top moderates in the House during that time, and I think it served her well. And I always appreciate politicians who are trying to work something out rather than just promote themselves, and I'll give Joe some credit there, and certainly Shelley is in that mold as well. So I'd like to see more of that.
The state's 3 House seats will stay Republican tonight. David McKinley with 64% of the vote in his race against Kendra Fershey in the 1st district. In the 2nd, Alex Mooney's machine continues to roll along, 54%. Kelly Sargent's 42%. And Carol Miller with I think a surprise margin over Richard Ojeda by 14 points, 57-43. We are joined now on the WVU Medicine Berkeley Medical Center talk line by the lone Republican to survive Jefferson County, Paul Espinosa. Delegate Espinosa, congratulations on your win tonight.
Thank you, Rob. Good morning, gentlemen. Good to be with you this evening.
It's fascinating to me how that morning. Good evening. Huh? Did I say good morning, or did he say?
No, he did.
He did. Okay. Well, he's used to talking to me in the morning, not the evening.
He's been up late. I'm sure he's been up for a couple of nights.
In a couple of hours, it will be good morning.
That's right.
Paul, did you see this turnaround coming in Jefferson County, where 2 of the seats would go to a Democrat tonight?
Well, first, just let me say I'm certainly humbled by the outpouring of support for my candidacy. I do want to acknowledge my opponent, Dave Dinges. He did call me a short time ago and congratulated me on my victory, and I congratulated him on a well-run race. I'm very pleased that our race was very respectful, throughout the election. So I do want to acknowledge him. Rob, clearly, there were some issues that impacted our race. First of most, I think clearly had to be Rockwell, and I think despite the fact that there was no legislative role in actually approving that project, I do think the opponents of that project, I think, were successful in basically tying some of the legislative candidates to that project. So again, I certainly think that had an impact. Particularly since, in Berkeley County, and again, I'm still trying to catch up a little bit with the Berkeley County results, don't seem to have seen, that impact in Berkeley County. So I do think some of the issues were unique to Jefferson County.
And Rockwell maybe being the biggest of those, as you pointed out, despite the fact the state legislature has nothing to do with Rockwell.
Nope, nothing to do with it.
Zero.
Well, and I don't know that I 100% disagree with that, but at the same time,
well, what part of that's wrong?
I think that you could have some role moving forward, but I think the bigger problem is that I don't know that some of the folks that lost were really willing to take a position, and I think people saw that and didn't appreciate it. And I know that they were trying to wait on some other things to come back, some other whether it be surveys or things from DEP or wherever, but I don't know that they didn't take that position. They weren't out there and vocal about it, and I think voters held them accountable for that.
Voters did not want to listen to reason on that one.
And you can't legislate retroactively on this either.
No, that's right, Craig. Jason, I'm sorry. I was involved in that from the get-go. I was involved in the recruitment. I know more about that project than probably anyone.
You've stated that, but
no. My point is that the legislature did not have anything to do with it. The permit was lawfully gotten; it can't be unwound. And Craig's exactly right. The role of and Paul's right. The role of the there was no role. The legislature played no role in that project at all.
And I got 54
I don't think
other counties that love to have it.
Well, that's and I still think it's a great project, and I think there's a lot of misinformation and hysteria, unfounded hysteria about it. And that's a topic for another show, Rob. And I'm happy to come back and talk Rockwell.
Come back tomorrow.
I'll be happy to, and we can certainly set the record straight on a lot of the things that have been bannered about that project.
Well, I do want to say, and again, I don't want this to come across as disparaging, those candidates that were successful this evening, but I do want to say that, I think that the presence of my colleague Joe Upson and Delegate Raleigh Moore, I think their leadership is going to be missed. And again, not to say that we won't continue to work together. Hopefully, as an Eastern Panhandle delegation, I think we've always tried to do that, put our differences aside, and certainly I'm optimistic we can do that. But I do want to say that certainly I believe that both Delegate Upson and Delegate Moore, their presence is definitely going to be missed, and I do think the Eastern Panhandle will be poorer for their for not being part of the delegation. But again, we'll move forward and. Again, hopefully be able to work very closely together as an Eastern Panhandle delegation.
Paul, thank you for your call. Congratulations to you on surviving Election Night 2018 in Jefferson County as a Republican, sir. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much. Appreciate the opportunity.
Appreciate your call. Tonight we'll be back with more, including Senator Charlie Trump. At least I was told Trump is on the line. I don't think it's the Donald, so I think it must be Charlie. Well,
I hope it's Charlie.
We'll find out which one it is. You'd love it if it was Donald Trump calling the show, and you know you would. Barrett.
Maybe I would.
It's time for a national update.
CBS News Special Report, Campaign 2018.
CBS News projecting Democrats are on track to regain control of the House. Live to correspondent Steve Futterman on Capitol Hill, where Democrats have gathered with Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi.
And, Steve, the excitement here is growing. This the main gathering of Democrats in the Capitol, right near Capitol Hill. And as each report of another seat being flipped from Republican to Democrat is announced, cheers go up. CBS News now projects 8 seats have flipped. So far, this is pretty much following what Democrat leaders expected. Nancy Pelosi spoke to the crowd briefly just over an hour ago. She said, victory is in our grasp. Steve?
White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders responding tonight.
Hopefully Democrats will be what
they have been unwilling to do in the past, and that's come to the table and actually do the job they were elected to do and work with the president and actually solve some problems.
To Texas now, where CBS News projects Republican Senator Ted Cruz will win re-election, avoiding Democratic challenger Beto O'Rourke. Correspondent Adriana Diaz has more.
Cruz is doing better among male voters, among voters who are happy with the economy, among voters who want stronger immigration laws. And immigration is really taking center stage in this race. And when you look at the counties that are reporting so far, you're seeing a lot of blue along the border and in cities like Dallas, and a lot of red throughout the state.
Polls in West Coast states close in about 40 minutes. CBS News special report. I'm Steve Dorsey.
And I'm Bill Rakoff in New York with our panel of experts here in the studio. CBS.
Shop Miller's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram today and find over 150 new and used vehicles to choose from. From gas savers to SUVs to four-wheel drive trucks, all of the new and most of the pre-owned vehicles come standard with a lifetime powertrain warranty. Now you can drive away with peace of mind knowing your vehicles are covered for life. And the best part about it, there are no service requirements with Miller's, and it's all included to you at no extra cost. That's right, no extra charge, and you're not required to service with us. Just follow the manufacturer's recommendations, and you're covered for life. With great quality vehicles and a great price, you can't miss with Miller's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Our courteous, experienced, and professional staff is waiting to assist you with finding the perfect vehicle that fits all of your needs. Unbeatable deals and excellent financing is right down the road. Stop in today. Miller's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Route 9 and Kelly Island Road just east of Martinsburg, or online at MillerChryslerJeep.com. Miller's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, home of the lifetime powertrain warranty.
When you're going through difficult times, it's good to know you have families around you can count on. That's us, Brown Funeral Home. Since 1880, our family has stood with other families through the hardest of times. So when you're looking for peace of mind, let our family help your family. Brown Funeral Home in Martinsburg, Inwood, and Charlestown, Ranson. We're here when you need us.
Come to Valley Guns 2 in Inwood for Smith & Wesson handguns like the MP 2.0 9mm full-size semi-automatic and the MP 2.0 compact. Or check out the Model 60 Pro Series Smith & Wesson revolver. For the ladies, there's the Smith & Wesson 380 Shield Easy. It's easy to load, easy to shoot, and easy to carry. See the full line of Smith & Wesson handguns at Valley Guns 2, Exit 5 off I-81 Inwood, West Virginia. Online at valleyguns2.com.
A DUI arrest can have a devastating impact on one's life, your job, your driver's license, and in some cases, your very freedom. My name is Harley Wagner. I own and operate West Virginia's only exclusive DUI defense firm. Since 1999, I've been representing citizens throughout the Eastern Panhandle and state of West Virginia charged with DUI. Let my years of training and experience work for you.
The initial consultation is free at the Wagner Law Firm in Martinsburg. Phone 304-901-7400 or online at westvirginiaduilawyers.com.
Welcome back to our coverage of Election Night 2018. Rob Mario here with Joe Ferretti, John Reisenweber, Senator Craig Blair, and Delegate Jason Barrett. We've seen a couple of incumbents out of the Eastern Panhandle delegation defeated out of Jefferson County. Riley Moore defeated by John Doyle, Jill Upson defeated by Sammy Brown. All of the Berkeley County incumbents have survived tonight, and a couple of newcomers replacing other Republicans with Republicans. John Hardy, yes, John Reisenweber.
I was just going to ask if we had any results on the Jefferson County Council races. I know it appeared that Jane Tabb and Ralph Lorenzetti were leading those races, and I was just curious if we had any updated numbers. It's been a while since
Yes, we do have. This is with 100% reporting. Jane Tabb with 52.9% of the vote advances over Robert Barrett. Ralph Lorenzetti with 50.8% of the vote advances over Peter Onosco, who had less than 42. Mountain Party candidate David Tabb had 7.5% of the vote.
And, you look at that, and David Tabb, who's in the Mountain Party, clearly running against Rockwell, takes 7%. You have to figure most of those votes are coming from Lorenzetti. So, that was really a huge win for Lorenzetti in that race. And Onosco, a big supporter of Rockwell. There are plenty of pictures of him sleeping in meetings. That clearly doesn't help the cause. But the other race, you look at the Jane Tabb and Robert Barrett, who Robert Barrett got in that race really late. The county executive committee in Jefferson, the Democrats had to appoint him because the the Democrat opponent that was there to begin, the candidate that was there to begin with. She got off of the ballot. So for him to get that close in that race really says something about what the voters in Jefferson County were thinking. I mean, this was clearly a huge Democratic night in Jefferson County, kind of what you used to see out of Jefferson County in the 90s. The past two elections in Jefferson County have been so solidly red and moving in that direction, and they've totally just went back to where Jefferson used to be.
If
at least for tonight.
If Rockwell doesn't happen, are the results different tonight in Jefferson County? If you lose that bid to bring that company, John Reisenweber, does this change the election tonight?
I think it's interesting. You know, Jason and I were talking in the break room about some of the polling in Sammy's race, and Jason made a very good point that the Rockwell impact was probably not as high in that district as it was in the Doyle Riley Moore race, which would make sense knowing Jefferson County that issue might cut a lot stronger in that Shepherdstown area. I think it also gets back to what Sammy attributed her win to on the phone tonight, which was her ground game. And if she did knock on that many doors, clearly there's a causal relationship there. So I think that polling that you indicated, Jason, which I wasn't aware of, would suggest that to a degree, yes, it definitely affected that race. I think David Tabb, David Tabb's he's a little crazy in my opinion, and I'm not the only person that thinks that.
Fortunately for you, there's an attorney to your left.
Well, I think if you took a poll on that. The crazy fact he would definitely, there'd be a lot of folks that think that. So I don't know how much of an impact that had in Osnosko's county commission race, although I would be remiss if I didn't think there was at least some impact. But I think it probably affected the Doyle Riley race more, Osnosko's to a lesser degree, and even less in Sammy's race. I think, based on some of the things that Jason was saying earlier, and it's probably more Sammy just hustling, getting out there and out hustling Jill.
Let's get to the WVU Medicine Berkeley Medical Center talk line. Senator Charles Trump is waiting for us there. Good evening. Good evening, Charlie. How are you tonight?
Good evening. Doing well. How are all of you?
We are doing swimmingly well, sir. We appreciate your call in for this evening. You were not opposed by a Democrat. A third-party candidate took you on. You won convincingly with over 70% of the vote, and you're headed back to Charleston once again, sir. And what's the first thing that you guys have to do out of the Senate? Does it have anything to do with any more impeachment things, or are you guys done and moving on from that?
No, I don't think we're done. As you know, Rob, the House has adopted articles of impeachment and been sent to the Senate. We're under an order from the Supreme Court right now delaying us, and the Senate just, I think this week, yesterday, filed, I believe, a petition with the Supreme Court for a rehearing of its decision in that case. And so I don't think it's over. And as you know, sadly, one of our 5 justices, since the articles of impeachment were adopted by the House of Delegates, has been convicted in a trial in federal court. And so I don't think we're done.
Charlie, Craig says it looks like
at this point we stand at 21 right now.
Yeah, and it looks like a lot of those numbers out of Kanawha are coming in really late. Craig has up on his computer the House District 37, which is the East End. I was getting reports there, which is a very Democratic area, getting reports out of there that at about 8:30, folks were still in line to vote. So in West Virginia, as long as you're in line at 7:30, you get to vote. So it looks like there must have been a really big turnout in Kanawha, which I think has a lot to do with those Supreme Court races, but a lot of Democrats voting as well.
Charlie, we have to join a national update from CBS. Would you like to hold during that, or do you need to go?
Sure, I'll hold.
Very good. Senator Charlie Trump with us via the WVU Medicine Berkeley Medical Center talk line, and we'll be back with more of our local coverage leading up to our conclusion at 11 p.m. tonight. We'll join our CBS national news coverage in just a few seconds here.
CBS News Special Report, Campaign 2018.
An endangered Senate Democrat has lost his seat. CBS's Stephen Portnoy.
The Indiana Senator Joe Donnelly, a Democrat in his first term, defeated by businessman and state
legislator Mike Braun. Remember, Indiana, President Trump won it by 19 points in the last go-around.
CBS News also projects incumbent Ted Cruz the winner in the Texas Senate race against Democrat Beto O'Rourke, and Republicans will hold the Senate. CBS News projects Democrats are on track to retake the House. Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi calls that a victory for the country.
Restoring checks and balances in our Constitution.
White House spokeswoman Sarah Sanders told Fox if Democrats retake the House, they shouldn't waste time investigating the Trump administration.
Anybody that was anticipating a blue wave tonight's not going to get it. Maybe you get a ripple, but I certainly don't think that there's a blue wave.
CBS News Special Report, I'm Pam Coulter.
Shop Miller's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram today and find over 150 new and used vehicles to choose from. From gas savers to SUVs to four-wheel drive trucks, all of the new and most of the pre-owned vehicles come standard with a lifetime powertrain warranty. Now you can drive away with peace of mind knowing your vehicles are covered for life. And the best part about it, there are no service requirements with Miller's, and it's all included to you at no extra cost. That's right, no extra charge, and you're not required to service with us. Just follow the manufacturer's recommendations, and you're covered for life. With great quality vehicles and a great price, you can't miss with Miller's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Our courteous, experienced, and professional staff is waiting to assist you with finding the perfect vehicle that fits all of your needs. Unbeatable deals and excellent financing is right down the road. Stop in today. Miller's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Route 9 and Kelly Island Road just east of Martinsburg, or online at MillerChryslerJeep.com. Miller's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, home of the lifetime powertrain warranty.
When you're going through difficult times, it's good to know you have families around you can count on. That's us, Brown Funeral Home. Since 1880, our family has stood with other families through the hardest of times. So when you're looking for peace of mind, let our family help your family. Brown Funeral Home in Martinsburg, Inwood, and Charlestown, Ranson. We're here when you need us.
Come to Valley Guns 2 in Inwood for Smith & Wesson handguns like the MP 2.0 9mm full-size semi-automatic and the MP 2.0 compact. Or check out the Model 60 Pro Series Smith & Wesson revolver. For the ladies, there's the Smith & Wesson 380 Shield Easy. It's easy to load, easy to shoot, and easy to carry. See the full line of Smith & Wesson handguns at Valley Guns 2, Exit 5 off I-81 Inwood, West Virginia. Online at valleyguns2.com.
A DUI arrest can have a devastating impact on one's life, your job, your driver's license, and in some cases your very freedom. My name is Harley Wagner. I own and operate West Virginia's only exclusive DUI defense firm. Since 1999, I've been representing citizens throughout the Eastern Panhandle and state of West Virginia charged with DUI. Let my years of training and experience work for you.
The initial consultation is free at the Wagner Law Firm in Martinsburg. Phone 304-901-7400 or online at westvirginiaduilawyers.com.
Wrapping up our final half hour of coverage here on Election Night 2018 from the Talk Radio WRNR TV10 studios in Martinsburg. Rob Mario, Joe Ferretti, John Reisenweber, Senator Craig Blair, Delegate Jason Barrett. It looks like the Democrats will take the House nationally. The Republicans will hold the Senate. In Berkeley County, all of the Republicans were reelected who were incumbents, and two new ones, Tom Bibby and I guess you could call Larry Kump a new one because he wasn't exactly in office. He had been previously, but he will take office along with John Hardy, two brand new ones and one who is returning. They're all Republicans. That's what the Eastern Panhandle delegation will be out of the House. In Jefferson County, different story tonight. Paul Espinosa holds his seat, but Jill Upson is defeated. Riley Moore is defeated. Riley Moore defeated by a surprisingly large margin, Jason Barrett, by John Doyle, who certainly had name recognition in Jefferson County, but I don't think anybody saw, what was it, a 10, 11-point win tonight for John.
Well, I don't know that I would say nobody saw that, because, and I'll explain why. Because if you look at some of the outside groups that spent money, and I know you guys have talked about Mountain State Values on this program some, they spent a lot of money in the 63rd, and they spent a lot of money in the 65th. They didn't, however, spend a whole lot of money in the 67th. And that leads me to believe that they had some data that said Doyle was going to be okay, and they didn't need to spend that kind of money. Now, when outside groups on both sides spend this kind of money, this is all data-driven. They're not just, shooting from the hip most of the time. They're basing this on some type of polling data. So I think that they may have some kind of clue, and certainly with Roger Hanshaw, the speaker, coming out ahead of time and saying that he was going to make Riley Moore the majority leader. That's done for a reason. That's to help Riley back in his district. I don't want to say that's unprecedented, but that typically doesn't happen to make that announcement prior to the beginning of the session.
And on the WVU Medicine Berkeley Medical Center talk line is Senator Charlie Trump, the Judiciary Chair of the Senate. Charlie, thanks for hanging out during the break with us.
Oh, I'm happy to do it.
Very nice to have you here, sir. So let's take a look at the Senate impeachment proceedings aside, however that eventually turns out. Let's take a look at what the next big work out of the Senate is. We have two leaders of it here right now, the Finance Chair and the Judiciary Chair. Craig Blair is in studio. Charlie is on the phone. What's the next thing that you guys are looking forward to in the next 2 years? Don't everybody answer at once.
I'm waiting for Charlie. He called in.
Okay, I'll go first. We're going to do, I'm hoping we're going to do a number of the things that we've been working on already. We're going to continue our path toward reducing and eliminating regulations that are barriers to business. We have tons of work left to do on this opioid crisis that West Virginia is still, immersed in, and we have work to do in the area of improvements to public education. Craig has been doing great work on taming the budget, trying to bring the overall state budget in the Finance Committee under control to make sure that we're not in danger of returning to deficit situations that we had a few years ago. So there's plenty for all of us to do, and I'm looking forward to getting to work on it.
Craig, you agree with that summation?
Yeah, but I agree with it. One of the things is Amendment 2 tonight is something that we've been looking at. When I was first elected in 2002, Democrats and Republicans both agreed that, hey, we need to do something to be able to manage the judicial system budget. And this is a mechanism that was put in place. The Finance Committee on the Senate side is already working on things that the legislature's dumped over into the judiciary that may not have needed to be there, and that making the judiciary budget a line-by-line budget, so it'll probably stand about 4 inches tall, and make it so that you can actually have clarity on how the money is being spent in the judiciary itself, so that is part of the process that needs to be done. And don't want to leave out something that I think both the Democrats and the Republicans agree on, is that we need to do something with the personal property tax on equipment and machinery. How we get there, I've got ideas on it. Everybody's got ideas, but we really, really need to move forward in some way or another on that aspect of it, especially if we got revenue streams coming in that actually support that for now.
I'd love to see that from an economic development perspective. One of the tax incentives that has to be put forward through these pilot agreements that everyone's heard about is to address that very issue that Craig's talking about. We're at a distinct disadvantage, particularly against states like Virginia, which we compete against regularly here in the Eastern Panhandle for investment. We have to do something about that personal property on equipment and machinery. It's a major impediment. For example, back to Rockwell, you got a $150 million investment. Half of that investment is equipment and machinery. So it gives you an idea of the tax burden that a business is going to see coming into West Virginia versus what they could get across the border in Virginia that doesn't charge that tax. Even with the 60%, the discount that we give off the top, it still doesn't level.
Guarantee you there won't be any new businesses of that size moving into Jefferson County for a long time.
No. But I'm just saying it had to be done on Procter & Gamble. It had to be done on Macy's. These are, manufacturing facilities are equipment heavy and machinery heavy. There's a lot of computer-aided machinery that's used in these facilities, and Craig's exactly right. You got to find a mechanism to do it. Now, it's a budget buster for the county, so that revenue has to be backfilled some way. So it's not an easy task,
Charlie,
by any means.
Thanks for the call. We appreciate it very much tonight.
My pleasure.
Have a good evening and congratulations to you, sir.
And for the listeners,
Thank you very much.
For the listeners, this is a constitutional amendment that would have to take place as well. I don't see any way around it, so there had to be a constitutional amendment to be able to address that. So it'd be up to the voters to come.
Tom Bibby was victorious in his race tonight against Cynthia Tootle. He joins us on the WVU Medicine Jefferson Medical Center talk line out of the delegate district seat formerly held by John Overington for 34 years. Tom, that road has been worn in a single 4-lane tire path by Mr. Overington over those 34 years. You're going to have to create some new ruts for yourself.
That's true, Rob.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I just found out just a little bit ago. I haven't been checking my phone. My wife told me that looks like the race had been called.
Indeed. So you have the unique perspective of being a former pilot. So will you be flying to Charleston on a regular basis or driving, sir?
I'll drive. You wouldn't want to fly with me at this time.
Fair
I
enough.
haven't flown about 25 years, Rob.
We'll keep it on 4 wheels then.
Yeah.
What will be the first thing that you do, Tom, now as the new delegate-elect?
Well, I'm going to look to see which committees to get on. I talked to Paul Espinoza. I'd probably like to try and get on the education committee and see what we can do to try to restructure the education system within the state. I know teacher pay and locality pay, things that we need to address in education. But I think we talked before in the air that it's going to be just more than just pay raises. We need to restructure the education, the way the Department of Education is set up as it is, and that will probably require some constitutional amendments to change that as well, since it's in the Constitution. But I'd like to see us be able to restructure and get rid of some of the bureaucracy within the department that would kind of free up our teachers and give locality. Give the local teachers and administrators more control over the classrooms, and take a lot of the power away from the Board of Education, the State Board of Education, and try to give it back more of the counties. And then look at things like locality pay, merit pay for teachers to try and increase their compensation, and but give it a local flavor and allow the local school boards and principals to be able to work that.
Jason and Craig, what advice would you give to a newly elected official in the state?
You want to go first? You want me to?
Well, I maybe the same thing that John Hardy and I talked about, Tom, and congratulations, is that campaigns and elections are tough, and sometimes they get down in the mud a little bit, and I don't think that your race did anything like that, but I think really what we have to do is realize that none of this has ever been personal, that we really just have to move forward from the election, kind of take off the Republican hat and the Democrat hat as much as we can, and really just try to move forward in a bipartisan manner, working together. And certainly I'm looking forward to this Eastern Panhandle Caucus working together.
Spoken like a true member of the minority party. Craig Blair, what do you have to say for him?
Good advice is that you fight over the issues that you disagree on, and you work together on the ones that you do agree on, and you don't hesitate to go have lunch or whatever else it may be, so that way you can have conversations and you build relationships no matter who they are out there, and that's how you get things done in the legislature. If you alienate yourself in such a way that nobody wants to come around you, nobody wants to be with you, well, then you don't get into the inside on what's going on. You've got to be sociable to outside of the arena of fighting over one issue or advocating another.
What do you think, Tom?
That's good advice.
All right, who's happier that you won?
Together.
Are you happier that you won, or is Gene happier that you won, so that you can get out of the house a little bit more now?
Gene's probably more happy now. Don't tell her that, but she'll probably hear it anyway. But but I do feel very blessed to have had a lot of the support that people have provided me the past few months, and that I feel very blessed about that. And a lot of my former students from Spring Mills had helped me out sign waving today, and I felt really good that I made an impression on the students, and they found out I was running, that they wanted to come help me with my campaign. It made me feel good about that.
That's very nice. That's great. I'm glad that worked out for you. Tom, congratulations to you, and we'll be talking to you again soon, hopefully tomorrow.
Okay. Well, thanks, sir, for asking me to call in, Rob, and you take care and have a good evening.
All right, and all the best to Jane for us.
Thanks, sir.
She's about to lose her roomie around the house, I guess.
You know, Rob, we were talking about some of these these House districts across the state and being unsure where the dust is finally going to settle. It looks to me that it's about a 59-41 breakdown, Republican to Democrat.
And it was 64-36?
It was. So that's a net pickup of 5 for the Democrats. But again, it's this big rural versus urban again. And one of the that I just looked up in that Ojeda race, and you said you were really surprised about that. And John talked about it earlier about how in the eastern part out towards Huntington and Cabell County that Carol Miller should do really well because that's where she's from. You would think in southern West Virginia where Richie Ojeda's from, in Logan, that he would do really well. Well, Carol barely won Huntington, or barely won Cabell, and she won Logan overwhelmingly. So this was as these races in West Virginia, we say every election that the people are so tribal based on geography. This was really about more of a partisan divide this time. In this, again, I hate to keep saying this, but this, the rural areas really went for Republicans, and the more West Virginia urban areas went for Democrats.
Let's go to the WVU Medicine Berkeley Medical Center talk line, where John Doyle, victorious in the 67th tonight over Riley Moore by 12%, is going back to the House of Delegates. John, congratulations to you.
Thank you, and Sammy Brown's here with me.
Yeah, we had Sammy on earlier this evening as well.
She didn't tell me that.
Well, she wouldn't. She wants more radio time. There's that famous John Doyle laugh right there. John, when you filed for office and decided you would like to give it another shot in the state legislature, obviously you wanted to win, but at that moment, how realistic did you think your chances were that you'd win?
Exactly what I told you on the show when you had me on there, 50-50.
Tonight they were 56-44, so you went plus 6.
That's true.
What was the key, John? What do you think turned it?
One word. 3 guesses and the first 2 don't count.
Rock wool.
That's it.
I have John Reisenweber in studio with us tonight. Obviously, John was key in recruiting Rockwool into Jefferson County. And John earlier tonight said that this is one of the more misunderstood issues in Jefferson County. I'll let the two of you talk this one for a moment, John, because you're adamant you don't want it there. John Reisenweber's adamant that is not harmful.
Not only do I not want it, clearly, by the election returns, Jefferson County does not want Rockwool.
John Reisenweber.
Period.
John's biding his moment here to get the right words out.
You're not going to get any other businesses. I'll add that to it.
Well, I think this is probably an issue that we need to have a little more time to discuss.
Well, let me say this: I'd like to have I'd like to have the two of you back here tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. Can you both do it?
And I cannot be there. I'm glad to be there almost any time, but I'm not going to be up at 9 o'clock in the morning, guys. Sorry.
John, make an exception for me. This is an important show.
I actually can't tomorrow morning, but I'm happy to come on the show and talk to John about it, and set the record straight on a lot of the things that went on. I'm happy to answer any questions, and I think there's been a lot of misinformation about the project.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what.
It's unfortunate.
Let's make it a point to do this. John, hold on.
It doesn't make any difference.
John Doyle, hold on during the break here. We'll be right back. I gotta bring John down here. If you can't hold on during our break, we have to get a national update here before we do our final segment here at 10 minutes of the hour.
CBS News Special Report, Campaign 2018.
CBS News projects Republicans will remain in control of the Senate. Correspondent Wendy Gillette is with supporters of Republican Senator Ted Cruz in Texas, where CBS News projects he'll fend off Democratic challenger Beto O'Rourke.
The hundreds who are gathered here are very enthusiastic, animated, excited. Many have Cruz signs and pins, and they're wearing red clothing. I even saw a little baby girl with a fancy red dress, and other people are dressed in red, white, and blue.
Republicans also taking the lead in Missouri. Live to correspondent Matt Piper in St. Louis.
That's right, Stephen. Because of that, there's not much optimism here in this room. I'm at Claire McCaskill headquarters in downtown St. Louis. There's a lot of people sitting down, some people standing, really kind of again, not much optimism here in the room. At last check, her Republican challenger was leading her in this Senate race. Steve?
But CBS projects Democrats are on track to take control of the House. Here's White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders on Fox.
If Democrats take the House, they shouldn't waste time investigating. They should focus on what the people have put them there to do. There are a lot of things that the president would love to work with them on, and hopefully they'll come to the table and be willing to do that and not continue to be the party of resist and obstruct.
CBS News special report. I'm Steve Dorsey.
Shop Miller's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram today and find over 150 new and used vehicles to choose from. From gas savers to SUVs to four-wheel drive trucks, all of the new and most of the pre-owned vehicles come standard with a lifetime powertrain warranty. Now you can drive away with peace of mind knowing your vehicles are covered for life. And the best part about it, there are no service requirements with Miller's, and it's all included to you at no extra cost. That's right, no extra charge, and you're not required to service with us. Just follow the manufacturer's recommendations, and you're covered for life. With great quality vehicles and a great price, you can't miss with Miller's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Our courteous, experienced, and professional staff is waiting to assist you with finding the perfect vehicle that fits all of your needs. Unbeatable deals and excellent financing is right down the road. Stop in today. Miller's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Route 9 and Kelly Island Road just east of Martinsburg, or online at MillerChryslerJeep.com. Miller's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, home of the lifetime powertrain warranty.
You're really busy. Got it. The last thing you want to think about today is a funeral home. Got it. But a little forward thinking now can save you a lot of heartache later. It's easier than you think. We're Brown Funeral Homes, family owned, in business for over 135 years, since 1880. And we're home based, right here in the Eastern Panhandle. Think smart, think ahead. Brown Funeral Homes, Martinsburg, Inwood, and Charlestown, Ranson. Brown Funeral Homes, we're here for you.
Crime is on the rise. Shield yourself with a new Smith & Wesson MP 2.0 shield, chambered in 9mm, 40 Smith & Wesson or 45 ACP. Valley Guns 2 has a wide selection of Smith & Wesson handguns, including the Model 60 and 640 Pro Series revolvers. For the ladies, there's the Smith & Wesson 380 Shield Easy. It's easy to load, easy to shoot, and easy to carry. For the full line of Smith & Wesson handguns, head to Valley Guns 2, Exit 5 off I-81, Inwood, West Virginia, online at valleyguns2.com.
A DUI arrest can have a devastating impact on one's life, your job, your driver's license, and in some cases, your very freedom. My name is Harley Wagner. I own and operate West Virginia's only exclusive DUI defense firm. Since 1999, I've been representing citizens throughout the Eastern Panhandle and state of West Virginia charged with DUI. Let my years of training and experience work for you.
The initial consultation is free at the Wagner Law Firm in Martinsburg. Phone 304-901-7400 or online at westvirginiaduilawyers.com.
Our final segment of election night to 2018 with Joe Ferretti, John Reisenweber, Senator Craig Blair, and Delegate Jason Barrett, and via telephone right now on the WVU Medicine Jefferson Medical Center talk line, Delegate-elect John Doyle. JD, you still there? Did we lose him? All right, I guess we lost John. I guess he didn't want to hold out during the break. I was trying to tell him to, but he kept talking over me, so I don't think you heard me tell him that he needed to wait. So a quick recap over the last few minutes here. Nationally, it looks like the House has gone blue. The Senate stays red. In fact, I guess the Republicans increased their lead in the state, in the U.S. Senate. In the state Senate, it is still a Republican majority, but it might be smaller, Craig. It might be.
Correct. We know that we've went from 22 to 21, and Kanawha County has 2 Senate districts in it down there, and 2 senators, and they're not done reporting yet back in, so we're going to go off there and not know. But let's say that we lost those 2 seats. Then we go down to where it would be a 1915? 1915 on that. So the Republicans will still control the West Virginia Senate.
And the House, Jason?
Somewhere 59-41, 58-42 maybe.
Constitutional amendments statewide for Amendment 1, which is no constitutional right to an abortion. 97% of the precincts reporting this amendment looks like it will pass. It's up by 4%, which equates to about 17,000 votes. with 97% of the precincts reporting. Judicial oversight of the budget, that amendment, Amendment 2, that will pass overwhelmingly. Everyone kind of knew that was going to happen anyway. It's got 74% of the vote. Only surprise there is it's not in the 90s.
I think the surprise of the night is the Constitutional Amendment 1. Being as close as what it is in the state of West Virginia. 52-48, I would have lost money if I would have gambled on that one because I had that one pegged at being at 60%, 60-40 vote.
Interesting.
That's a shocker to me.
U.S. Supreme Court in Division 1, it looks like it'll be Tim Armstead, who has 26% of the vote. In Division 2, Evan Jenkins with 36% of the vote is a shoo-in.
And the story of the night there is that the two people who were nominated and put into positions of serving on the Supreme Court right now by the governor, Tim Armstead and Evan Jenkins, retain those seats.
You know, and you look at those races and all the outside money that David Welch talked a little bit about earlier with the Republican leadership PAC spending all that money to help Evan Jenkins and Tim Armstead. You know, the legislature did the right thing by making these nonpartisan races. But really, what the hell is the point if we're going to just allow all these very partisan groups to just dump in hundreds of thousands of dollars?
Well, if it makes you feel any better, the polling on that, so that I understood over a month and a half ago, it predicted exactly what happened here tonight on those two races.
Well, it's money or no money. And I thought it was kind of unfair. Once the governor makes the appointments and puts the imprimatur on these two guys that they are chosen ones to serve on the Supreme Court, that's tough to overcome. Plus, and I think part of the modeling too, Craig, was that these guys have name recognition.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely,
statewide.
Evan Jenkins, more so than any other of the members or any of the candidates on either ballot. Clearly, those two had much higher name ID than any of the others.
In the U.S. Senate, Joe Manchin with 97% of the votes counted with a 50 to 46% lead over Patrick Morrissey. That's 23,000 votes roughly. Some time ago, the CBS News Network called that race for Manchin. All three House of Representatives seats in West Virginia will remain red. All three Republicans winning by convincing margins tonight.
Yeah, and I don't see that as any great surprise. Maybe the margin in the third with Ojeda and Carol Miller, that might be the surprise, but I don't think there were any. Furché, I don't think ever really had a chance, and it was certainly a big task for Tally Sargent as well.
No doubt about that.
And Ojeda will still be in the West Virginia Senate.
Does Morrissey remain Attorney General till the end of his term?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Is he thinking another term as Attorney General, or does the clock run out on that?
You have to talk to him.
Which you could do because he's allegedly in Martinsburg tonight. So thank you so much for watching our coverage on TV10, and thank you very much also for being a part of our Talk Radio WRNR coverage via the radio on YouTube and also on our stream at talkradiowrnr.com. For Joe Ferretti, John Reisenweber, Craig Blair, and Jason Barrett, this is Rob Mario on Talk Radio WRNR Martinsburg.
Thank you for joining us for Talk Radio WRNR and TV10's coverage of Election Night 2018. Tonight's coverage was brought to you by Brown Funeral Homes and Cremations, a full-service funeral home proudly serving our area since 1880. Miller's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, home of the lifetime powertrain warranty, Route 9 east of Martinsburg. Attorney Harley Wagner, West Virginia's only exclusive DUI defense firm. And Valley Guns 2, Exit 5 off I-81 in Inwood. This is Talk Radio WRNR Martinsburg and TV10.
You're listening to 106.5 FM and 740 AM. Talk Radio WRNR. Martinsburg, Shepherdstown, Charlestown.
Is projecting that Democrats will take control of the House of Representatives. They will gain at least the 223 seats needed, Stephen Portnoy, in order to get that majority control back from Republicans.
Exactly how they'll get there and exactly in what numbers, we don't quite know, but we do project a net gain of 15 at this hour for the Democrats in the House. And as the polls close in the western states, including California, we can project that, well, Democrats are going to wind up with the gavels, not just at the rostrum and the speaker's position, but also in all the key committees. We don't know exactly how large that majority will be, but we do project that the Democrats will take control of the lower house of Congress come January. It's a significant development. There are other developments, including in Florida, where we're hearing that Andrew Gillum, the Democrat, is now conceding to Ron DeSantis, the Republican candidate for governor. But more on that in a moment.
Yeah, CBS's former White House correspondent Peter Mayer is with us tonight.
Look, this outcome now spells a return to divided government in Washington. The Trump White House can brace for what everyone is predicting to be endless investigations. I spoke to a guy who will be the chairman of a subcommittee, a House subcommittee, who's ready to investigate a number of things and issue subpoenas. Democrats are going to push for bolstering the Affordable Care Act, higher taxes on the rich and corporations and other issues that are popular with their followers. But they're going to face a roadblock in the GOP-controlled Senate, which brings me back to divided government. And by the way, House Democrats, a lot of them are also itching to get a hold of Donald Trump's tax returns. You know, he says now that the public's not interested. Previously, he said that he was under audit. And they think that there's an IRS provision that will allow them to go to the Treasury Secretary and say, release those returns. But Trump's going to fight it until the end of his first term.
And there are the more mundane things that we talk about, too, just in the course of divided government. Expect budget battles now. We can expect, there's the gamut of things that will now be the subject of can we all get along in conference committee, I guess.
Right. I mean, they could possibly compromise on infrastructure improvements, which is always on the table, talking about airport and road and bridge improvements. And there's a possibility they could come to terms on something along those lines. But other than that, it's going to be a mess.
So CBS News once again is projecting that the Democrats will take control of the House of Representatives. Let's go right now to Washington. CBS's Steve Futterman is standing by at DNC headquarters. And let's check in with him. Steve?
Well, they are obviously ecstatic here. Lots of hugs, lots of embraces, some high fives, a smile on virtually everyone's face as I look around this large ballroom here. They were confident going in. Nancy Pelosi said earlier today at a press opportunity that we are going to win. She said it's not a question of if we're going to win tonight, it's what time we are going to win tonight. Well, the time has apparently come as CBS News projecting that the Democrats will take control of the U.S. House. Now that means a minimum of 23 seats that are flipping, and that's going to be very interesting to see what the final number is. There are a number of seats coming up in California. One of the seats that Democrats would love to win is the 48th in California. That's held by 15-term Republican Dana Rohrabacher, who's been bothering Democrats for 30 years. They feel they have a chance to knock him off. That will be an interesting race. But the goal right now has been achieved. The Democrats enter today wanting to take control of the lower house of Congress. They have done that, and there's going to be lots of changing going on here in D.C.
All right, thanks very much, Steve Futterman at DNC headquarters. Now, on the flip side of things, let's go down to Florida, where we've been watching this race for governor, and there have been developments there. CBS's Peter King joins us with the details.
Well, Bill, we have not officially called this race. Officially, we're still calling it a toss-up, but Democrat Andrew Gillum has just conceded in Tallahassee. He says he just called Ron DeSantis, the Republican winner, and congratulated him on what he expects will be his victory. The math just isn't there. I mean, looking at the numbers, there's a 1-point lead for DeSantis, a 1-point lead, and there just weren't enough votes left for Gillum to catch up. What he told his supporters a couple of moments ago, this is about the belief that if we all do good, we can all do good, even in defeat. I believe that to be true, and we still deserve our seat at the table. I've got to tell you something. This is a guy who came literally out of nowhere to win the Democratic nomination just a couple of months ago. And for him to run this close a race with Ron DeSantis, who received the Trump endorsement so early on, is almost a political miracle. And I guess we always hate the phrase moral victory in defeat, but in a lot of ways, this really is a moral victory for Andrew Gillum and his supporters.
Peter, let's talk about the Senate race for a minute. How is that looking?
That is still a toss-up. I'm looking at the numbers now with 99% of the vote in. Rick Scott has a 1-point lead. Excuse me. He has almost a 2-point lead now over Bill Nelson. But we have heard nothing from the Scott campaign. We have heard nothing from the Nelson campaign. So nobody is conceding. Nobody is declaring a victory just yet.
All right, CBS's Peter King keeping an eye on things for us from Florida. Stephen Portnoy, so once again, this was a race that was tight in Florida for the governor's race, but Republicans are going to maintain control. But as Lenny Steinhorn was mentioning, we may have other states that provide, a balance to that. Some of the Midwestern states we talked about, Michigan, Wisconsin, and even in Pennsylvania in the Mid-Atlantic.
And not to mention Kansas, where something interesting is happening, where the Democrat is now leading the governor's race there. But the only point I would make is that these results in Florida tonight just illustrate the strength of the Republican Party in that state. President Trump went down there 5 times. It is a state he will be very proud to say Tallahassee's in Republican hands. Meanwhile, we should just illustrate the situation in the Senate. Right. Because people are very interested in that. Republicans tonight have picked up at least 2 seats, and they are in Indiana, where Joe Donnelly goes down to defeat against businessman Mike Braun, and in North Dakota, Heidi Heitkamp, the Democratic incumbent there, loses to Congressman Kevin Cramer. He's the Republican. So far, we give the Democrats a net gain of 15 seats in the House, but we project that the Senate Republicans will pick up 2 seats in the Senate.
Leonie Huddy, how does that reflect in the exit poll numbers?
As we look at this, I think what we've seen in the Senate exit polls is that Trump is popular in a number of these states where these senators were up for re-election, and no one has managed to crack that. So his popularity has helped. There are Republican states. Independents haven't voted in sufficient numbers for Democrats to change that picture. And I think overall that's part of the story, that these Senate races were really in Republican states where Trump was very popular.